Prayers.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the officers of leaders and parliaments for the favor of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, whom you have been pleased to that perform such important trust in this land. Let your blessings descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as promote your honor and glory, and advance the good of those whose interests you've committed to their charge.
Amen. Item number 2 in the order paper, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, I welcome you to this afternoon's sitting. I just want to urge all of us to work expeditiously because we only have today for sitting. Tomorrow, as I indicated, we have to pay tribute to Mr. Maombe Mukwana. So let's do the week's work in this afternoon. Thank you. Honourable Muhinda, I think you had an issue to raise. 2 minutes, quickly.
Right Honorable Speaker, I rise on a matter of national importance. In 2013, the National Housing Household Survey conducted by UBOS revealed that 27% of the Ugandan population still depend on unsafe water, and such population, Right Honorable Speaker, relies on water from streams, rivers, ponds, while others draw water from the lakes. Unfortunately, the media, which is pretended by UCC, has been running adverts which have some women and men using the magic detergent powder, and they are directly washing dirty clothes in streams. I know that many people in Uganda believe that whatever they see on national television is accepted by the country, accepted by government and any other person in authority. I am wondering, therefore, whether the ministers of health, trade, and ICT as well have an explanation as to why such an advert continues running while it has a negative education message to the community of this country. I would also like to know why really government would not bring the advertising company of such a negative message to book that it deserves, because I know that UCC had set a number of standards to be followed. Thank you.
I know the Minister for ICT is not here, but Minister of Health, are you aware about this advert where people are washing in the stream and it's aired regularly on TV?
All right, Honorable Speaker, I request that you give me time to check and then I will give a report back.
It's related to magic soap powder. Honourable members, in the public gallery, we have members of the Board of Trustees of Nakivubo War Memorial Stadium and executive members of the former Parkyard Market, led by Honourable Charles Sego. I don't know where they're seated. There they are. They have come to observe the proceedings, but more particularly they're interested in hearing what the Minister for Kampala will say about the issues that have been in the public domain. Yes, Honourable Cooper, 2 minutes, you had something?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, you just want to know, or the country needs to know, what is happening at UBC. because we are getting information that UBC is being sold. It's the only television, national television, that Uganda has. We are being told it's being sold to a Chinese company. Madam Speaker, this will be very serious if it is true. So we want the government to come out clear, and we understand, the country gets to understand what is happening, whether we are selling everything that belongs to Uganda. Because I thought we had reached a level where we wanted to get some things back, like this house pushed last time on Umeme. And finally, Madam Speaker, is the issue of the industrial park in Namamve. Madam Speaker, we know that's invested under Uganda Investment Authority, but for the in November last year and January, we have seen private individuals advertising in the newspapers the selling of the plots at Namamve Industrial Park. The Minister of Finance must tell us what's going on, whether now the individuals have reached level of selling land at the industrial park in Namamve. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues. On the issue of UBC, we have this information to the House. UBC is not on sale, and the government is not in any way have any plan to sell UBC. Instead, beginning with next financial year, as you saw in the budget framework paper, we are investing 20 billion to revamp, to equip UBC so that it can serve the people of Uganda. So those allegations are certainly false and should not be listened to. On the second issue of the Namamve Industrial Park, Madam Speaker, I will cross-check and then come back to the House at the next sitting.
Okay, item 2. Item 2. Item 3.
Item number 3 on the order paper.
Oh, sorry, there was something Honorable Ogwaro wanted. 2 minutes, please. Yes, yes.
I appreciate Right Honorable Speaker. I'm sure the members know that it's not easy to be a commissioner, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I stand to bring matters of national importance to this House. I know some time ago this House was burdened by an order which disturbed all of us, a subject of great importance to this nation, but the court had issued an order barring Parliament or any other person from discussing the matter. Right Honorable Speaker, an issue has arisen when the Ninth Parliament passed supplementary budget of 78 billion. Of the 78 billion, part of that money was going for compensation of cattle, which was lost in Lango sub-region. And so the concern of Parliament was that there are general complaints that although the money is being dispersed, but we are not sure that the genuine or authentic claimants are the ones who are being paid. So when the budget was passed, the supplementary budget was passed, the Speaker of Parliament then ruled that this matter must be followed up with an investigation to establish whether the right claimants are being paid. This matter is seen to be the same happening also in Gulu, happening in other places where people are being compensated for loss of animals. Right Honorable Speaker, what surprised us is that the lawyers who actually got the order of mandamus, I'm not a lawyer, but I struggled to explain this matter to the Ninth Parliament, which was very well understood, despite the fact that I'm not a lawyer. But we had assumed that to get an order of mandamus means that there has been undue delay in paying for debts which are delayed to be paid to the rightful claimant. Unfortunately, before this matter can be paid, there must be proof that there has been attempt to get the recovery and it was not done. The concern of this parliament, Right Honorable Speaker, was that the Ministry of Justice ought to capture all the debts which are supposed to be paid to those who lost or who brought their cases against government and are due to be paid, must have their figures captured and put in the budget so that it is properly provided for in the budget. Even if it is more than that particular financial year can absorb, at least this parliament would be conscious of the fact that we have so much amount to be carried forward to the next financial year. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, by this order, interim, what do they call it? Interim order of injunction against discussion, debate through the media, through whatever channel or in any discussion forum. If anybody is found discussing about compensation of animals through Basasa and Company or any other agency, they would breach the order of mandamus. Now, one of the journalists who actually reported what His Excellency the President said on the 7th of February, when the President visited Lango to open the regional office, the President did express concern about the manner in which the compensation for animals is being paid. And he also did say he's suspicious of fraud. That's what the President said. So the journalist reported exactly what the President said, and because of that, the journalist was arrested on the basis of having reported what the President said. So, Right Honorable Speaker, while we sit here representing our people, there are so many other stupid things happening outside there which are affecting our people. So I pray that these journalists who suffered unfair arrest by just reporting what His Excellency said could be happening in other areas as well. So, Right Honorable Speaker, through you, I'm asking the minister in charge of this matter to explain to us how we are going to handle the matter. Because whether we like it or not, the issue of compensation of animals will continue to come to this parliament and will continue to be a subject of discussion in the budget committee, will continue to be a subject of discussion in the various committees that deal with compensation. So I would want us to be guided as to how we can conduct the affairs of the state without mentioning matters of grave concern of this nature. So, Right Honorable Speaker, through you, I just wanted to keep this parliament informed and to expect that the government will respond accordingly so that we can protect our members wherever you are. I can accept your information after I've sat down. Thank you very much.
Now, Honourable Member, maybe you could give us the name of the journalist, which paper is working for, so that when we ask the minister to explain, he knows what we are talking about.
Right Honorable Speaker, the newspaper which reported this matter of cattle compensation is the, I think on the, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm trying to see the photocopy of the newspaper, and it's not very clear. But the New Vision newspaper of the 7th, the New Vision newspaper, and the journalist who was arrested is called Hanson Apunyo, who is a New Vision correspondent based in Lira, and he works for the New Vision newspaper. He was reporting the issue of cattle compensation as stated by His Excellency the President. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Now, Honourable Member, I've not received any information from the Attorney General, but last week I think I saw the Constitutional Court had nullified those types of things, but I don't know how they are being implemented. But anyway, I think let us ask the Minister of Justice to come to us and give us an update on the impact of those issues of contempt on the work really of everybody. Item 3, Minister.
Item number 3 on the order paper, statement by Minister on Backyard Market.
Minister for Kampala.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues. Right Honourable Speaker, may I first congratulate you on a very successful exercise that was conducted yesterday under your leadership. I would like my congratulations to be registered.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, pursuant to Rule 44 of our Rules of Procedure, Right Honourable Speaker, I stand to provide a statement to Parliament on the relocation of vendors from Parkyard Market. Pursuant to Rule 44 of our Rules of Procedure, I beg to inform this House on the events that have taken place in Parkyard Market in the past few days. I am sure that you are all naturally anxious about how they might affect the current peace prevailing in the Kampala Capital City Authority. The purpose of this statement, Right Honourable Speaker, is to bring this House up to date and on board on the genesis of Parkyard Market, the struggle to have it relocated to another place in order to give way for developing the premises into parking space for Nachivo Stadium, and why we had to make the decision that we made. All the documents, Right Honourable Speaker, that I will mention in this statement will be laid at table for all members to review after the end of this statement. The background of Nachivo War Memorial Stadium, it was created by an Act of Parliament in 1953. It is managed by a Board of Trustees appointed by the Minister of Education and Sports, which is the line ministry. The ministry has a lot more information than I do, and I hope that the minister will have time to beef this up. Right Honourable Speaker, Nachivo Parkyard Market is located on plot 26, Nachivo Place, which belongs to Nachivo War Memorial Stadium. The plot was designated as a car park for Nachivo Stadium, and not a market. Parkyard Market was started in the late 1980s by people with disabilities, supported by local leaders, when then KCC embarked on a massive exercise to evict vendors from the streets. Since the premises were unoccupied, it was convenient to relocate them here temporarily. Efforts by Nachivo War Memorial Stadium, the owners of plot 26, Nachivo Place, to remove the vendors and repossess their premises date as far back as 1997, but they have usually been resisted by political forces and interests. In 1999, Nachivo War Memorial Stadium instituted a court case against KCC, which had actually advertised for tender applications to manage the market. In the suit, as far back as 1999, Nachivo War Memorial Stadium prayed for the eviction of vendors so that they can repossess the premises. In January 2000, in a letter to Nachivo War Memorial Stadium, Mr. Gordon Mwesige, then town clerk of KCC, conceded that KCC had no jurisdiction over Parkyard Market and requested for 2 years' notice, at the end of which vendors would be removed and Parkyard Market converted to to its original purpose of serving as parking space for the stadium. In 2012, Ms. Phoebe Kamia, who was the Director of Revenue Collection, wrote a letter to Hajat Kavanda, who was the chairperson of the Management Committee of Nachivo War Memorial Stadium, informing her that Parkyard Market was an illegal market over which KCCA had no responsibility, and advising them to manage their property as they deemed appropriate. Close, end of quote. In 2013, Nachivo Stadium was closed by Uganda Revenue Authority over accumulated debts. In 2014 April, Nachivo War Memorial Stadium demolished the perimeter wall of the stadium and dislocated vendors of Parkyard Market on grounds that the stadium needed to repossess the premises for their own development programs. In April 2014, Mr. Musisi Mohammed, who was the chairman of Parkyard Market Vendors, wrote to the executive director, KCCA, asking her to prevail over the demolition in order to save 4,000 vendors who had been displaced. The executive director, Ms. Musisi, responded in a letter that they should go to Usafi Market, where spaces were available at very convenient terms of 6,500 shillings per stall per month. In February 2015, His Excellency, the President of Uganda, wrote to the Minister of Education and Sports then, Honorable Major Jessica Alupo, directing that she discusses a proposal by Mr. Ham Chigundu to develop the premises occupied by Parkyard Market into a modern parking area for the stadium. The President recommended that any discussions should be of a PPP agreement nature, where government retains ultimate ownership of the facility. In May 2016, Mr. Fred Kateriga, acting chairman of Management Committee of Nachivo War Memorial Stadium, wrote to KCCA asking them to enforce removal of the illegal Parkyard Market. In May, again 2016, Ms. Harriet Mudondo, in response to Mr. Kateriga's letter, she's the Director of Gender, Community and Services and Production in KCCA, wrote to Mr. Sebaduka, the chairman of Parkyard Market, inviting him and about 30 vendors to brief them about the proposed evacuation plan for vendors that operate at Parkyard Market. And the vendors were to be relocated to Usafi Market, in quotes, which is a gazetted place for a market. Generally, Right Honorable Speaker, there's a lot, hundreds of backwards and forwards correspondences in the file I found in the Ministry of KCCA between Nachivo War Memorial Stadium trustees, vendors of Parkyard Market, and different government officials. All the letters are about the eviction of Parkyard Market vendors. Fast forward, Right Honorable Speaker, 2016, when the Minister of State and I were appointed as ministers of KCCA. It started on 10th November 2016. I received yet another letter from Nachivo War Memorial Stadium decrying non-action by numerous petitions to various government officials seeking support to repossess their premises by evicting Parkyard vendors. They specifically refer to the cabinet decision of 19 October 2016 to evict vendors from Kampala, capital city, operating on streets, road reserved, unlicensed open spaces, road carriageways, sidewalks, and all illegal locations. Basing on that cabinet decision, I had issued the necessary directive for vendors to vacate those places. In their letter referred to above, Nachivubo War Memorial Stadium questioned the selective administration of my directive and demanded that the same directive be applied to vendors of Parkyard Market, which was illegally operating in their premises. On 23rd January 2017, Nachivubo, the trustees of Nachivubo War Memorial Stadium, copied me a letter they had written to the Director of Physical Planning of KCCA, still asking that Parkyard Market be made available to them for their own development plans. In February 2017, they wrote me another letter pleading that their issue be put to rest. So desperate were they that they offered a relocation plan that would cost them about 120 million shillings, which would pay for 5,000 stalls in a KCCA market for 6 months. Right, Honorable Speaker, this is a 20-year-old story of owners of premises trying to repossess their premises for the development of a sports facility. And for 20 years, they have been haggling and no decision is taken. Surely, Madam Speaker and colleagues in this House, if a government can haggle with illegal vendors for 20 years to develop 1.5 acres of land, surely, what else would they do? Madam Speaker, the Minister of Kampala Capital City Authority decided to take a step for the development of this land and bring the matter to rest. This was the plan to relocate vendors. We first worked out a plan to relocate vendors. On the 8th of February 2017, I wrote to the Executive Director of KCCA asking for a brief on the status of Parkyard Market. She responded in a long brief, the summary of which is that, and I quote, Parkyard Market does not meet the basic planning requirements for establishing a market. She recommended that Parkyard Market be relocated to another feasible location in the neighborhood, such as Usafi Market and other proposed markets. Close quotes. On 14th of February 2017, the chairman and general secretary of Parkyard Market wrote to me asking me to clarify the status of Parkyard Market. I responded on 20th February 2017, clarifying that Parkyard Market was an illegal market that does not meet the basic planning requirements, and as recommended by KCCA, directed that they relocate to Usafi Market and other markets within a period of 30 days. My letter was copied to the Prime Minister, to the PPS, to His Excellency the President, Ministers of Education and Sports, Security, Information, ICT and Communication, Presidency, all the people that needed to be informed of this decision received a copy of my letter. Right, Honorable Speaker, the purpose of this chronology is to show that our decision to evict vendors was informed by this protracted struggle by Nachivubo War Memorial Stadium to repossess their property for development that had lasted 20 years. After this communication, I sent a final brief. These are the consultations. I sent a final brief to His Excellency the President. I also held, because it could be a security matter, I held a meeting and briefed the heads of all security institutions in Kampala, that is the IGP, the head of ESO, ESO, CMI, SFC, UPDF, UPS, the acting RCC, and others. We all met the representatives of Nachivo War Memorial Stadium and the developer, Mr. Hamis Chigundu, and together we met about 40 representatives, the leadership of the vendors of Parkyard Market, and agreed with them that they should relocate within 30 days. Nachivo Stadium vendors executive and Mr. Chigundu requested that we leave them to negotiate with the vendors, which we did. So why was the evacuation carried out on Sunday night and not wait for 30 days? This is what everybody is asking. Right Honorable Speaker, I received communication in the morning that the vendors had peacefully agreed to relocate from Parkyard to Usafi, and that the developer had accepted to facilitate the process, which had actually been agreed on even before I gave my orders to vacate. When I asked why they did not wait for 30 days, as had been agreed, I learned, and I later confirmed, that there had been efforts by some smart people to secure a court order stopping the eviction, and that the court order, I confirmed this, would be ready on Monday morning. So they needed to preempt the effect by occupying the premises before the court order was out, which, Madam Speaker, I thought was smart. In the communication from the vendor, they also informed me that the developer, in his discussion with the vendor, had confirmed with an agreement signed the relocation plan we had all agreed on. Nachivo War Memorial Stadium, the developer offered 1,000 stalls in his own Ham shopping mall, promised to pay for 700 stalls in Usafi Market, and whoever would take immediate advantage of this offer could have the stall for free for the next 6 months. Madam Speaker, this looked like a very good deal to the vendors, who would have had to move in a month's time anyway without the benefit of the 6 months rent-free advantage. So after signing the agreement, which is among the documents that I will lay on table, that evening, the leaders started calling their colleagues to come and evacuate the copy. Madam Speaker, this is the situation today. Currently, I have a document dated 1st March 2017, which updates the information that I had given by end of yesterday. And this document, the executive director, signed by the executive director of KCCA, J. Mosisi Semakula, Doctor, saying that a total of 500 workspaces have been reserved in Usafi Market, and allocation of the same commenced yesterday, 28th of February. In Wandegea, a total of 50 workspaces have been reserved, and that in Ham Shopping Mall, 2,100 vendors have so far been accommodated in Ham Shopping Mall. This brings to date a total of 2,650 vendors who have been relocated to Usafi, Ham, Shopping Mall, and Wandegea markets. Madam Speaker, the chairman of Parkyard Market, Mr. Kasim Sebaduka, who is in the gallery, spent the whole of Monday and Tuesday this week helping his members to relocate, assuring them that the 6 months free of rent offer is not a hoax, and guiding them to whom they should report in Usafi Market and other alternatives. He's also telling them where they can find him in case of difficulty on a loudspeaker located in Parkyard Market. He's doing all this on a loudspeaker so that any vendor who needs support know where they can go. Madam Speaker and colleagues, is there a problem now? All is calm in Parkyard Market and the new locations, except for the media who need news and politicians, I'm sure, who need some political capital. There is no serious security or economic threat arising out of the relocation of Parkyard Market. There are, however, a few skirmishes, mainly arising out of incitement and the usual few people who will always resist development and change in all societies, in all countries from time immemorial. Remember, Madam Speaker, Katikkiro Nsibirwa was assassinated by people who resisted construction of Makerere University. Ugandans resisted electricity and had to be whipped in order to allow electricity poles to pass through their gardens. They even resisted growing of coffee and had to be caned, hence the name Chiboko Coffee. Because Ugandans resisted growing of coffee, they had to be caned. Former President J.F. Kennedy was assassinated by people who resisted abolition of racial segregation. Kennedy was assassinated because of people who resisted racial segregation. And Galileo was executed for insisting that the world was round when the Catholic Church said it was flat. History is
Order, members. Allow the minister to make a statement.
Madam Speaker, history is littered throughout history by people who will always resist change, but progress and development must continue. Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, was this a successful mission? Madam Speaker, I am proud that we have successfully brought to the end a 20-year-old dispute and dislocated over 10,000 people in a few days without a gunshot, with no tear gas, without any serious injury. Madam Speaker, I call this a resounding success, and I'm very glad that Parkyard Market,
Order.
Madam Speaker, I am very glad that Parkyard Market that I saw in the middle of a capital city has finally been brought down, and that National War Memorial Stadium can now be developed into an ultra-modern facility which Ugandans need and deserve. Finally, Madam Speaker, I undertake that while I'm still minister with my colleague, while we are still in charge of KCCA, we shall take keen interest in the quality of the development we anticipate. I also call upon our colleagues in the Ministry of Education to ensure that Ugandans have the development, the quality they deserve. Madam Speaker, the Minister of State and I.
Wait.
Madam Speaker,
Order.
Madam Speaker, my colleague, the Minister of State and I,
Point of order.
Order. Madam Speaker, I don't know whether I'm having the right document or not. Madam Speaker, I don't know whether it's in order for the minister to leave out a very important thing on page 8 and jump it and go to page 9. Madam Speaker, on page 8, successful mission, if I'm having the correct statement, it reads, I'm proud that we have successfully brought to the end a 20-year-old dispute and relocated over...
Wait.
Members, listen.
Listen.
I don't know why you're in a hurry. I'm proud that we have successfully brought to the end a 20-year-old dispute and relocated over 5,000 people in a few days without a gunshot, tear gas, serious injury, or mayhem. It is a resounding success, in brackets, for which Parliament ought to give me a handshake. I'm very glad. So, Madam Speaker, this is the document I have. So I don't know why this part has been left out. So is the minister in order to avoid what's on that statement? Is she in order?
I believe the minister was still explaining her statement. Did you omit the golden handshake? You talked about the handshake.
Madam Speaker, I'm talking about the one of Parliament. The choice of Parliament to reward. I don't know whether Parliament rewards. May I continue, Madam Speaker? I'm just concluding, Madam Speaker. We are convinced that it is possible to have the Kampala we want in a short time, but only if we take out politics and concentrate on work, development, and service delivery. With everybody's collective support, Kampala can shine in a few years. Madam Speaker, may I conclude by begging colleagues in this House to rise above partisan politics, to support the development of this sports facility, which is 20 years overdue. Madam Speaker, I beg to submit as I lay this document on table.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I think that the House and the country has benefited from the sequence and the chronology. A lot of this information has been the public domain, but sporadic. But at least we have put it in sequence, and I think we have a better picture. Thank you very much. I think let me hear from the Minister in charge of the stadium, and then we'll come to Honorable Sebagala very briefly.
Thanks very much, Right Honourable
There.
Speaker
Where are you sitting there?
and the honourable members of Parliament. Madam Speaker, allow me to start by congratulating the Minister of KCC for the wonderful job done. As the Minister in charge of Nachivubo and sports, we would have moved that place yesterday. But because of Parkayard and other problems, we could not proceed. But he has cleared that. And as she rightly quoted, since 1999, several letters of communication have been going to KCC, telling them, please, can you remove those people, relocate them so that Nachivubo can proceed. Right Honorable Speaker, I wanted to bring this bit of history for the members not to get the perception as it was on the TV, as if these people have been ambushed to leave the place. In 2009, Cabinet passed a paper authorizing the Minister of Education and Sports
Point of order.
Madam Speaker, I'm raising on a point of order. Through you, that is it in order for the Minister to issue a statement of which we don't have a copy, yet we are stakeholders in this country. As a shadow Minister of Sports, I need such information for my own analysis and follow-up. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I don't know whether the minister is talking from his notes or what. Do you have a document? No, the minister for the Kampala minister will have your paper. The Minister for Education.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm supporting the statement by the Minister.
So you are speaking from your notes?
I'm speaking as a stakeholders who is in support of the action that was taken. And I think there is no obligation for me to give you a copy.
Proceed.
Thanks very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, as I was saying, in 2009, Cabinet passed a paper for Nachivubo to be modernized. And you recall, some of you have been here for some time, that Nachivubo Parkayard, part of it, has suffered 3 types of fire burst. And when we talk about Nachivubo, Parkayard is part of Nachivubo Stadium. This is what some people have not been understanding. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members of Parliament, when we started the process of modernizing Nachivubo, of course, it's a long process, soliciting for the potential developers, developing the plans. One of the interests that we got was the people of Parkayard. As you have heard the name, it is not Park Market. And when we requested the KCC by saying, please, we have got our land title, this is not your property. Could you tell your people whom you have been collecting dues from to get off? Not 1 letter, not 2 letters. When Nachivubo was banned, Parkayard was banned, the perimeter wall of Nachivubo Stadium was greatly affected to the extent that even FIFA by regulation could not accept international games there. And as sports lovers, the first priority was to look for somebody who could put up a perimeter wall for the Nachivubo Stadium. Honorable members, the story of Parkayard is very interesting. Immediately after Parkayard being gutted by the fire, several people visited the place, including His Excellency the President. And you are aware that he donated some money to them to sympathize with these people, our colleagues in the Parkayard. There was a group in Parkayard. Immediately, they developed a plan of the market. And some of them came to my office, saying, for us, we want to be given this place and put a market. I told them that was practically impossible because of 2 issues, or 2 conditions. One, Parkayard belonged to Nachivubo. Secondly, that area is not a gazetted market. And I thought they had understood, and they went back. And again, another group came later, that we have understood that now we have got somebody developing the perimeter wall. Can we also be stakeholders? We said, please, this is a different entity. There is no way you can be partners on that. And they knew very well that anytime the developers proceed, they will leave the place. So for those who were thinking that these people were ambushed, I want to tell you that it's a long history. They knew they were there temporarily. And after writing to State Council, and State Council realizing that they were in the mistake, they wrote back to Nachivubo and said, please, we are no longer dealing with them. But they remain with the responsibility of removing them. For about 2 years to 3, the people of Parkayard wanted to cooperate with Nachivubo. It's okay, let us be there temporarily, as you look for the developers and paying some little dues until you get the developers. Time came again, our colleagues, the politicians, stopped them. And nothing has been coming to Nachivubo Stadium from Parkyard. Because I had heard some people saying, we have documents, and I want to challenge them to bring the documents up to date to show that they were paying Nachivubo. Up to date.
That's what you want.
Don't mind, time will come, you will bring. So we continued pestering KCCA until some time back, the board wrote to KCCA, say now we have reached final stages with the developers. We want our portion because the plan involves all that land. And that's why I've thanked the minister, say no, I think we need development in that area. So KCCA came in, and at first they looked as if the people were going to negotiate and leave the place amicably. Right Honorable Speaker and my colleagues, you will be seeing some, and I think you saw them on the TVs. Again, some of our colleagues went to Parkyard. In fact, some even don't belong to that constituency, but told them, you cannot leave this place. If it means shedding blood, it will be shed. Order. So those ones who were thinking...
Order, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I happen to have been part of the group that made an attempt to go and assess the situation at Parkyard Market. Right Honorable Speaker, the people we are talking about
What's the point of order?
come from anywhere.
What's the point of order?
The Honorable Minister is making an insinuation, Right Honorable Speaker, that politicians went and kind of incited vendors to resist this brutal eviction. We made an attempt, this is the point of order, and it is actually the goons that confess that they had been deployed by the minister, who attempted to lynch us. Is the minister in order, therefore, to insinuate that politicians went to incite vendors when it is the goons deployed by the minister who are actually up to lynch politicians who had gone to assess the situation on the ground? Is he in order?
Honourable members, you know there are politicians at LC1, at LC2, at LC3. The minister just said politicians, he didn't say members of parliament. So he's in order.
Thanks very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for your good, wise ruling. And I think your continuous guide ruling has really made us progress in the way of debating. Honorable members, having told you that, of course, Parkyard Act its readers, who on several occasions wanted to interact with the Nachivubo leadership to see how amicably the situation could be handled. I don't want to repeat what the minister has told you. Several meetings took place, leaders were called, and in fact, they went ahead even to be given gestures of stalls, as she has rightly put it, even money to facilitate them, and the process was going on. But as you know, as my colleague said, that he was one of those invisible eyes and forces, but there were also visible forces that could know what you were planning, and things went at a good speed. And with that, I want once again to salute my minister, that I can now assure the House that after that, in a few months, the entire Nachivubo is going to start its process of development. I thank you.
Honorable Savagara, then
Procedure. Right Honorable Speaker.
Who is that? Who is that on the floor?
Procedure. It is a
Latif, Honorable Savagara. I called Honorable Savagara.
I was raising on the procedure.
Under rule what? Let's hear Honorable Savagara. Let's hear from Honorable Savagara. I'll come to you later. Let's hear from Savagara. Then I wanted Migade. Please.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what we need today and here are facts and members to be honest. Madam Speaker, the history of Parkayat has been stated. And indeed, we all agree that Parkayat is owned by Nakivo War Memorial Stadium. Madam Speaker, that is the first fact. It was a parking yard for those going for sports and the surroundings. Madam Speaker, as time went on, it developed into a market. And that's why we are saying it is Parkayat Market. Madam Speaker, I'm talking about the fact they have been talking about the history of 20 years. Whether you deny it, it has been a market. And they have been there. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, the issue of illegality. Madam Speaker, if we are honest, we have all the evidence that these people have been paying the owners of the land. There is empirical evidence that Nachipo War Memorial Stadium has been collecting dues from the owners, recognizing that they are renting from the landlords. These are facts which cannot be disputed. Madam Speaker, when we talk about Ugandans who have been working there, the beneficiaries are over 15,000. Madam Speaker, we all agree that indeed we need development in the city. And I don't believe that there is any leader here who can say, I am not interested in development. Madam Speaker, when we were elected as leaders in Kampala, in the 10th Parliament, I was elected to lead the City Parliamentary Caucus. And one of my objectives was to ensure that as leaders in Kampala, we agree on how we could carry out development, which includes the poor, the underprivileged, and the rich. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Ministers of Kampala are members of this caucus. And indeed, we agreed that in this parliament, let us sit as leaders in this city to see how best we can ease the tension and move forward. Madam Speaker, the first 2 months we are moving well. But all the communication he has talked about, there is no any communication to the caucus to which she's really a member. Madam Speaker,
But, Honourable Member, I don't think the House is required to take note of what happens in the caucuses.
Madam Speaker.
No.
Madam Speaker.
Relative concentrate on the right of user of that land.
Madam Speaker.
That's where the quotation is. Was it a market? Did it become a market by their acceptance? Were they receiving a premium for a market or just for the land? You leave the caucus issues alone.
Madam Speaker, I was giving you a brief history of how, because they have talked about politicians, the campaigning, and the anti-development. So I wanted to bring that we have been meeting as members, politicians in Kampala. Madam Speaker, what we should really know right now, if these people have been operating in Parkayat illegally, and indeed, as I've said, the documents are there, that they have been paying. What we would have done, Madam Speaker, that if the minister wrote that yes, we are giving you this time to relocate, I would have really suggested that the minister would have gone ahead to ensure that the time frame given, because relocating 15,000 people is not simple, the time it would have been given to them would have been enough so that they can relocate when they are in an orderly manner. Madam Speaker, many have lost their property because at around midnight, that's when they were evicted. Madam Speaker, when you look at the management of National War Memorial Stadium, because as members of parliament, we should know that it's not about what is now happening. But Madam Speaker, you constituted a committee to investigate the parkyard and related issues, including schools and other markets. The committee came out with a report, a very clear report. Madam Speaker, if the Minister of Education Sports is sincere, they had a board of National War Memorial Stadium, and in that board, they had already put up designs to redevelop that area. And they gave 4 companies to redevelop National Parkyard. The 4 companies were given the authority to do so by National War Memorial. Madam Speaker, as we talk now, as Parliament, as the committee which was presented, the committee suggested and requested that those 4 companies should be maintained. What we are talking about in the minister's report is now 1 company, and which means the other 3 companies are going to go to court for litigation. Madam Speaker, my concern, if the minister is saying that they have been relocated, Madam Speaker, remember, USAF has been there for so many years. Wandagea market was constructed, but up to now, it is empty. Madam Speaker, there is no way how you can say that these people have been relocated to those areas where those areas cannot sell, they cannot go there. And the minister is not true to say that people are now comfortable, they are carrying out their businesses in that kind of arrangement. Okay. I request, Madam Speaker, as I wind up, Madam Speaker, the people we are protecting are not people from Kawempe North constituency, neither from Kampala City. There are people from Kamuli, there are people from Iganga, there are people from Mayuge, there are people from Gulu, there are people from everywhere. They are the ones earning from Parkyard. But if we really evict them the way they were evicted, Madam Speaker,
point of order.
I doubt.
Point of order. Point of order. Honorable Waboya.
The point of order I would like to raise is this. We are aware that there is demand and supply. In most cases, people go where the products are. I think it's misleading for the honorable member to say that because the market has been relocated from the Parkyard, and therefore where they are going to locate, the consumers are not going to go there. I think that people will always go where the products are. So my point of order is that your information is misleading us.
Okay, honourable members, in the last parliament, we had we investigated the order. Honourable members, in the next parliament, we investigated the grabbing of public land, especially on schools around the country, and Honourable Gade was the chair. Can you give us some light before I move to the other members? Okay, close, Honourable Latif.
Madam Speaker, when the President visited Kawempe, the Honourable Minister in charge of Kampala promised His Excellency the President 80% votes in Kampala. She has started working on it.
Honourable members, our concern as a House was the manner of eviction, the way the eviction was conducted, that was the matter of our concern. Honorable Migadde, then I come to you. Migadde conducted, let's hear from our chair.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
The chair of the committee. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Indeed, I was the chair of that 6-member committee. Fortunately, 2 of my members made it back to the 10th Parliament, and they are still around. Right Honorable Speaker, in our investigation, we discovered quite a number of issues. Though the minister in her submission only mentioned one stakeholder or company, that was Harm Enterprises. And it was not only Harm Enterprises. And Right Honorable Speaker, like the minister mentioned, after the president directing the development of Nasivoj Stadium, after a cabinet decision, on 31st March 2015, the chairperson of Nachivo Memorial Stadium wrote to the Minister of Education and Sports, informing her that the Board of Trustees of Nachivo Memorial Stadium had contracted other 3 companies. One of them was Interemfune Enterprises to build a 10,000-seater pavilion. The second was Futureland Uganda to construct an ultra-modern seating stand at the Villa Chirasha Park. The fourth was Best In Limited to erect 2 other stands. Why is that one very important? Because, Right Honorable Speaker, when we visited, we discovered that the company the minister is actually emphasizing, Harm Enterprises, had started construction without an approved building plan. And this made it very difficult for KCCA to supervise the works, because you cannot supervise, but it has an approved building plan. To make matters worse, Harm Enterprise Limited had constructed lock-up shops and a netball court, and the committee considered it is that Harm Enterprise was more interested in the business sense, not in the sports. And Right Honorable Speaker, please. Honorable Minister, you appeared before the committee and made your submission. And it was actually a good submission. So, Right Honorable Speaker, the approved building plan had provided for 4 entries, 4 gates. Because this is a stadium, it must be accessible.
Point of order.
Thanks very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I listened to the statement of the Minister for KCC about the evacuation of the vendors in Parkayard area, the so-called Parkayard market. Right Honorable Speaker, is the Honorable Member holding the floor in order to bring the details of the management of the Parkayard we should get, rather than the topic which is being discussed now, is in order?
Now, honor members, you know, this is what happens when government keeps quiet about our recommendations. We made recommendations in 2015, adopted the report. We've never heard from the government. Now, issues around that are coming back again. But our issue had been the manner and brutality of the vision. That's what we wanted to know about. The issues of the other companies, for now you leave them. We're interested, how are these handled? How are the Ugandans being handled on this matter? That was our concern. Because if you want to reopen now the report, I don't know. Prime Minister, 2015, that's when we debated this report. No treasury memorandum. Now the same things are coming back to. Honorable Kasivante, then Sewanyana. 3 minutes.
Thank you very much.
We got the, sorry. We got the concentrate on backyard. Don't go into the other areas. Concentrate on backyard. That was our issue. Not the contractors. Backyard eviction of Ugandans. Brutality. Yes.
Much obliged, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what I was worried about was coming back next month complaining about a stadium which has no entries. And I thought it was very important. One thing I have to affirm. It is true, as a committee we discovered that it was not only Parkyard that encroached, the Parkyard vendors that encroached on Nakivo Memorial Stadium land. There were other encroachers, quite many of them. Some of them were well established. And our issue, even before we raised the procedure, the selective action should also be questioned. Madam Speaker, as a committee, and indeed I agree with the Minister, we even recommended that actually all encroachers on Nakivubo War Memorial Stadium land should be evicted. Yes, we never approved the manner in which they should be evicted. But we requested to set up a committee. And actually we also recommended to put a moratorium on disposal of other land belonging to the stadium. So, Right Honorable Speaker, what I'm worried about as a member of Parliament is something that has happened before on this land. We saw Basajja Balaba, we saw it, it is still fresh in our minds, where he claimed for compensation. So I'm worried about these other 3 companies, which were duly awarded contracts by the same board. And the letters are there to show this. So I'm worried about them going to court, and it is still the taxpayer and the government, and this same parliament will pass a supplementary, maybe, to compensate these people. So that's what I'm worried about. That's why, Madam Speaker, even before, I look at the manner, but there is another implication, which is litigation. And it would be okay if it was government repossessing this land. Then it is okay for government to pay the cost for litigation. But why should government pay cost for litigation when this whole land is going to one company, an individual company?
Okay, honourable members, I think we are going to do something different today. I'm going to demand from the Prime Minister Treasury memorandum on that report. You are late by more than a year. You are late by 2 years. You are supposed to present in 6 months. Now we are having residual problems because government has. Honourable Prime Minister, we are demanding for the Treasury memorandum on that report on government land. And want it in 1 month's time. Okay. Kasumate, 3 minutes. Sewanyana, 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, several issues surround this matter, but as you've guided, I'm going to be cocooning on the manner in which this eviction was done. The Minister has already mentioned that the eviction was done in anticipation of a court order. And on that one only, you can begin to understand what actually took place. But before I get to that, Right Honorable Speaker, the habit of hearing court orders and hiding from court cannot be supported here. We can challenge court orders, but we can't hide from them. That an investor was even spying on court on a Sunday would be aware that there is an order coming on Monday. And this investor convenes a meeting at his ease, a meeting of the leadership of the vendors on a Sunday at night. An eviction, which was actually brutal, as I'm going to put my case, begins at midnight. Now, Right Honorable Speaker and members, these were first of all leaders of vendors convening at night with this big investor. At some stage, Right Honorable Speaker, you guided it very well. We may not go in details of what took place. I would even make a case that the leadership was actually bribed by the investor. You know, I have to, all the evidence, if Right Honorable Speaker, you so guide, at some stage I will bring this. At night, members, Right Honorable Speaker, it was 50 million shillings each. We know, we have evidence. We shall bring that one. But this is the case I want to make right now. Right Honorable Speaker.
Order, members.
This means, therefore, that the leaders could not even get time to consult their constituents. At night, then eventually, after, right away from the meeting, eviction is begin. Where was the involvement of the vendors? Where was the involvement of the ordinary vendor in this Sunday night meeting, which actually led to the eventual eviction, where they could even make losses to their merchandise? The minister is saying the leader of these vendors is even up to now making calls of the people, is really, please come for your merchandise. Where is it still really? We must, because somebody is accusing us that this is not Rubaga North constituency, for example, but these are Ugandans. We cannot wait for Ugandans to suffer from Kasubi such that a member of Rubaga North then gets involved. Right Honorable Speaker, a case was made here that the market was illegal. In fact, somebody is even saying that it was not a market, it was a yard. I want to table evidence. Right?
Okay, half a minute to conclude. Half a minute to conclude.
The letter I have, Right Honorable Speaker, is written by the Executive Director of KCCA, Mrs. Semakula Musisi, to Kampala United Park Yard Vendors Association. And it is titled, it is actually request for tax holiday to Park Yard Market Vendors. She's acknowledging this is a market. Two, Right Honorable Speaker, KCCA has been getting charges, dues from this market, revenue from this market for a very long period of time. First of all, I have evidence that Nachivo Stadium, War Memorial Stadium, has a memorandum of understanding with the vendors, and the MOU is still running. But even before laying that one on the table, Right Honorable Speaker, this letter I have was written by the then acting town clerk of KCC, guiding on how revenues should be collected and deposited. If I can be allowed to read it verbatim, it is enough testimony that one, KCCA acknowledges that this is a market. Two, that has even been collecting revenues from the same place. Madam Speaker, by this letter, KCCA was directing that 30% of the collection payable be paid to Nachivo Memorial Stadium, and 70% of it goes to KCCA Central Division. This is another evidence that KCCA is well aware that this is a marketplace. So now, the minister is saying, and I want to be very, very brief, because I'm going to lay on table this evidence, that she had to rush this eviction. The minister has failed here to table evidence of her correspondences between herself and the executive director. Just last Monday, as area MPs, we sat as ex-officials in the authority special meeting, and the executive director was requested to tell the council.
Okay, complete your statement. Complete.
To tell the council whether She had ever responded to the request of the minister for a report regarding legality, the legal basis of this market. She said she was still preparing for one. Now, the letter was written somewhere 20th February, requesting the executive director for a report about the legal status of this market. Before a report should be given to the minister, evictions took place because she was anticipating, she wants to hide from court. We can only challenge court orders. We can't hide away from them. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
No, Sawanyana then Macho. Sawanyana Macho, Kasozi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The traders from Kasiro.
I thank you, Madam Speaker.
3 minutes.
There is a very huge problem, dear members of Parliament, because the working relation between the minister and the leadership of Kampala must be investigated seriously. Because Parliament sat here and made a special law which guides the management of Kampala, whereby ministers, as part and parcel of managers of Kampala, must consult the authority, look into the authority's decisions before they make their own decisions. Now here comes a minister who just makes an order even without knowing what discussions were made in an authority meeting that manages Kampala and its properties. 2 days before the minister made such a directive, the authority had sat. Knowing such a problem could crop up, they sat and said, let us first maintain the status quo. As we look around the various markets and we get appropriate stalls for our people. After the minister made a declaration, a directive that you should go away in 30 minutes. Then the management of Kampala sat in a special meeting again to see what to do. That the minister has made has given vendors 30 days to vacate the premises. Now what can we do as planners of Kampala and leaders? Before sitting on Monday, on Sunday night, the minister made up a plan, as she has said in her statement, to evacuate the vendors. Now, what is that? What is the motive? What is the motive? Seriously. Because even the minister, before making such decisions, must first consult the cabinet. She's not managing Kampala alone. There are certain organs which must be first consulted. Even the Minister of Trade. So that is a serious problem, whereby that is why I'm asking Parliament to seriously investigate the actions of the minister and see if there isn't any other motive other than this one she has stated of development. Then another thing, Madam Speaker and Parliament, I can inform you even before the minister could leave for sports. The Minister of Sports could leave. That as we talk now,
I was supposed to flag off a team and I asked him to go and do it for me.
Okay.
But that was before this matter came up.
As we talk now, the minister has just been there. He has just said that as sportsmen, we would be very happy to reclaim our land because it is stadium land for future development of the stadium. There came a scenario where even football was evacuated from Nachivo Stadium at no notice. That was Wednesday. That was yesterday. Police FC and Ondu Paraka were preparing for the game. Then an investor brought in machines to evacuate footballers.
Ona Macho Kibalia, then Kasozi.
Right, Honorable Speaker, colleagues, I've stood to discuss about the right of the user. I know in this country we need development. Every good developing country or developed country have good cities. But I question really, the way how the users were handled without good information to protect their goods. I felt crying when I saw women crying on television about the loans they're gonna pay. And asked myself, why don't we have development but together with our people as stakeholders? And I really asked myself, why did the minister behave like this? But I discovered that many times we make mistakes. The Honorable Minister, who is still the Minister of Federal Alliance, one time when we were looking for votes for my presidential candidate, President Museveni, she used the same methods that she's using to make sure that people go. And I remember well, she talked this in Busia when she came for campaigns. When I come in power, I'll make sure I use the force. I witnessed force. But I see this mistake is coming to us, the ruling government. We go and source people from other parties without the backgrounds we don't know. We bring and encounter our party to begin implementing their programs. Whoever has been appointed a minister from opposition, they have good methods of working. When a prime minister and our party, I do really agitate and advise. We have enough cadres who can be ministers and getting people from opposition to come and spoil the name of the president. Right, Honorable Speaker, almost 80% of the speakers on television were abusing our good party, NRM. And I was saying this is bad. Right, Honorable Speaker, I have so to say that this parliament must know that opposition in this country is there as soon as they call them to sit with us and eat and destroy us. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Kibaria and then Kasosi. Kibaria, then Kasosi. I'm coming. Kibaria and then I'm coming. Kibaria. Kibaria quickly and then I come to Kasosi here. Order, please. Kibaria.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Order, please. There's a member on the floor.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, at times we bring out some of these statements in good faith. We don't wish the government to imagine somewhere, somehow, we are against the government. Right Honorable Speaker, if you look at page 3, the minister said in 2013, Nachivo Stadium was closed by Uganda Revenue Authority over accumulated debt. We wonder whether she wanted to say the park yard or Nachivubo. Because we are seriously addressing park yard. Park yard is not related to much as it's owned by Nachivubo. 2, somewhere when you continue to page 5, the minister said, where she said she wrote a letter and gave 30 days for people to leave the park yard. Eventually, she hears there is an injunction about it to be presented. She gets a communication from the meeting. And people were smart. I wonder whether she had by a written document and the agreement that the leaders with the members of the park yard had reached on was equally written to her, because her correspondences were written, as she says. But the responses and the information she was getting, for us to imagine, is a rumor, because she was told that there is this about to happen. This is going on, and we have sat in a meeting and we have agreed people are ready to leave even before 30 days. Right Honorable Speaker, there is a tendency where the leaders that run some of these markets are easily bought off. After buying them off, they come and disguise as if they are fighting for the rights of those members of the market. Yet actually, they've got their handshake. Now here we are, a chairman is saying is moving day and night, immediately after closing off the market,
to look for areas, which areas he was not looking for before closing off the market. Right Honorable Speaker, everybody has seen how these poor men and women of Parkyard have suffered. For me, today that I've discovered who have been burning the Parkyard, all along I've been...
Half a minute to conclude, then Honorable Kasozi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. So, you discover that much as this has been going on, at the end of the day, we are not going to see this place benefited from by Nachivubo market. But there must be some people somewhere just using this to imagine they are fighting for sports, as the minister said, they are helping this and the other, yet there are just a few individuals that the minister and the given team are fighting for at the expense of the poor men and women of this country. We must be considerate. We are all Ugandans. We need everybody. Let's look at this, and instead of fighting for one person, we fight for the rest that are suffering elsewhere. Thank you, Right Honorable.
Yes, let's go to Machindi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, before I proceed, I would request to read verbatively the letter which was written by His Excellency the President on 28th April 2010. I would like to read the paragraph where he said the continued sale of the properties to individuals is dangerous and socially and politically because a lot of people stand to be deprived of their livelihood. I would also want to read
Who is writing that letter?
The letter which was written by the President. I beg to lay it before the floor.
Calm down. Calm down.
Right Honorable Speaker, this letter was written by His Excellency the President, addressed to Honorable Adolf Mwesige, the Minister of Local Government, by then was the Minister of Local Government. In this letter, I would wish to read paragraph 2, which is stated that the continued sale of the properties to individuals is dangerous socially, politically, because a lot of people stand to be deprived of livelihood. I beg to lay this letter before the floor. I also want to quote the letter which was written by the then Minister of Local Government, Adolf Mwesige, addressed to all district chairpersons, all mayors, all chairpersons of the town council. In paragraph E, he stated that all programs requiring demolition, reconstruction, closing, or moving of markets must first be submitted to the Ministry of Local Government and the respective local government councils for scrutiny and approval, then the program should proceed. In paragraph F, he stated the sitting and the registered tenants for all stores, midalas, those in open spaces, in the market shall all form one umbrella market association. The democratically instituted and registered market vendors association shall be given the first priority to develop and manage the markets. Right Honorable Speaker, the minister in his letter which he wrote to, the management of Parkyard Market, he stated the reason as to why those people were supposed to be vacated was that they were there illegally. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay on the floor of Parliament this letter of award which was given to the then company to run. It was dated 20th July 2000. It was addressed to Equator Touring Services Uganda Limited. award of tender to manage Nachivubo Park Yard. So that means that it is a Kampala State Council by then, which
Written
is
by who?
KCCA,
Honorable member, who?
written by the then Secretary for Kampala District Tender Board. So he was awarding a tender to those people to manage that market, which means that that market was not there illegally. Right, Honorable Speaker, this government was founded on the strong foundation of those who are an inch down there. The time is now. All of us who have ever been in one way or the other, the tenants, but even then, when you know that really this house is not mine, the landlord can't just wake up in the evening and just throw your things out. There are laws to follow. My fellow comrades, those are your brothers, those are your sisters. It's quite, when I call my mom, I call her my mom because we were once in the same political party. These are the things she used to go on the radio one by one condemning. Today she's doing the same. The country is not going to be owned. The country is not going to be owned by only those who have got money, those who have got resources, but we should also consider those fellow people who were the grounded, the background, the strong foundation of this government.
Onampuga, then I think we go to Kaveruka, Anthony, and then Nsereko. I want to hear a bit more from Kampala. Honorable Zogu, too far from Kampala.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I'll be very brief. With hindsight of the guidance you gave the Honourable Migade, who was my chair on the Select Committee, I'll be very careful because I know quite a lot on this subject matter. But let me limit myself on the boundaries of the eviction. First of all, I would like to advise the Honourable Minister for Kampala that this very report she has given Parliament is an indictment of her own conduct, an indictment of her knowledge of the workings of government, that on her own evolution could abandon poor Ugandans and leave them at the mercy of brutal capitalists. That a minister with a duty to protect, even when you had a legal duty to relocate, governments do not work like private individuals. Right, Honourable Speaker? The minister will have to explain to this country whether she's aware that part of her duty in Kampala is to ensure that wherever there are people who are disadvantaged, she has a role to move them to a place she considers lawful for them to eke out a living. She is informing the country of how he abdicated of her duty and left it to whom it may concern. I take exception, Right Honourable Speaker, to the conduct of my very good friend, the Honourable Minister for Kampala. Right Honourable Speaker, we are all aware that the works around the stadium are tainted with impropriety, procedurally and legally. And I would like to interest the Committee for Education to interest itself in the conduct of the State Minister for Sports in matters regarding to Nachivubo Stadium. The President, in his capacity, wrote advising the Minister on how to do business with this stadium and its land. His letter not in any way impeach the provisions of the act quoted by the Minister of 1953. He did not purport in any way to impeach the provision of this act, but instead asked the minister to work within the bounds of this law. That's why I'm inviting the committee, through you, Right Honourable Speaker, to interest itself in the personal interest of the minister in matters relating to Nakivu War Memorial Stadium. Not the minister for Kampala, but the Minister of State for Sports. Otherwise, I would like to invite the Honourable Minister for Kampala that in the future, as a political leader in Kampala, it's not proper for you to accuse colleagues in Kampala of inciting people. Now, in none of these meetings you are quoting did you invite them for a conversation over these matters. You did not invite them. There was no way they could sit back and wait for your hands off and hats off approach. By you leaving these vendors at the mercy of the capitalists, you were a hands and hats off. Your mother, these are your people. Yes, they could have issues with the way they are occupying this place, but you are privy to the provision of the Land Act. You are aware on how to handle bona fide occupants. They could be, they're not occupants by title, but they have a right under the provision of the Land Act. And I am also alive to the fact that the workings of government are such that sitting tenants are given special treatment in the way business is handled wherever they are working. Otherwise, this very document, Right Honourable Speaker, indicts the Minister for Kampala, and this should give her an opportunity to look through how should rather work with the politicians in Kampala. The politicians in Kampala are indispensable in matters of Kampala. You can be, we could be having disagreements, but you're not disagreeable with the fact that Kampala should be developed. If you're not disagreeable, then you can have a very constructive conversation on how to work with the people. Some of our people are very vulnerable and they need protection by their leaders. No matter.
No, Kaberuka, Anthony Okello, then Musereko.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, yes, we are all hosted in Kampala. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to address myself to page 6 of the report, especially that sentence that begins, when I asked why they did not wait for the 30 days as had been agreed during the security meeting, they told me that they had learned of the Lord Mayor plan to secure a court order stopping the eviction, and that Harm's intelligentsia told him that the court order would be ready on Monday morning. Madam Speaker, even our rules of procedure, Rule 71, guards against anticipation. And these are honorable members. The honorable minister who has written this report is aware that you cannot kill a person because you anticipate that he may kill you. Really, all of us as human beings, as honorable members of parliament, who watched that incident, we really feel that the government, the people who did it, misrepresented the government. And how long do we do this? For how long should we continue doing this? Madam Speaker, the other day, the Attorney General presented a paper to stop the parliament from doing its work. This is the same thing to be translated into the vendors now. I'm a member of parliament in the NRM side, but these are our people. The people who are suffering are NRM, people who are suffering are other parties, but are Ugandans. It is high time, Madam Speaker, the government looked at the plightiness of the people of Uganda, and we need to look at the rationale of these people who why you took that high-handedness to really mistreat these Ugandans. As we are saying, Madam Speaker, I wanted to say that how do we leave this with impunity? How do we punish the wrongdoers? Who are the wrongdoers in this case? Are the people who gave 30 days and in a process, there was nothing but to evict poor women and men of Uganda. Madam Speaker, I propose that the committee, the chair has given us some highlights. We need this one to be investigated, conclusion, and it seems there are some.
Honourable members, on the investigation, I want to really propose that let us get the government memorandum, the Treasury memorandum, to know what they are doing and what they are not doing. We cannot add another investigation because they have not answered on the other one. So I've given them 1 month, they must bring Treasury memorandum on that report. Anthony, then
thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I take cognizance of the long period that government has taken to evict vendors from backyard market, but for which I want to commend government, because I think government was aware that the services of the over 4,000 people in the backyard market is quite a service which also impacts directly and indirectly to millions and millions of people. And Madam Speaker, if you are to conduct an eviction, I think government took long because they knew they needed to have a human face in order for them to conduct this eviction. But also probably there were no options to give to the people who are in this backyard. But now I get to realize that options were offered with Ham shopping malls giving about 1,000 stalls, Usafi Market having approximately 700 and 200 million for relocation. Maybe we can conclude that eviction had become a foregone conclusion. But Madam Speaker, I think this eviction could have still been done in a better way than the way it was done. But let me hasten, Right Honourable Speaker, to draw your attention to page 7, and particularly on the first paragraph of page 7. The first sentence towards the end talks of Ham's intelligence. Right Honourable Speaker, the actions of eviction was actually guided by Ham's intelligence. Now what comes into my mind is, who is Ham? Right Honourable Speaker, we have a minister in government and we have a government intelligence system. But here is a situation where the Honourable Minister is relying on the intelligence information given by an individual. And that is the information that is guiding the action of the whole minister in a government. Right Honourable Speaker, reliance on this kind of individual information gives a complete vote of no confidence in our institutions of government, like the intelligence system of government. Madam Speaker, I find it very belittling that we can take this kind of action.
Order, members, order, please.
Because even if we had gotten this kind of information, we needed to have cross-checked this information. I happen to have become a student of participatory rural appraisal. When you are doing this methodology in collecting information, there is what they call triangulation, which is cross-checking.
Honourable Sereko. Sereko, then...
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go to Butemba. Katusime.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members.
Nakawa.
The saga surrounding the Parkyard Market did not begin today.
I know you stop me from driving.
And as you are aware, we've been discussing various matters of market vendors and even hawkers, not only in this parliament, but also outside. Now, we are here discussing relocation. The first question should be, who has the authority to license a market? When you address that first, the answer is clear. It is the KCCA. Who has the authority to gazette and de-gazette a market? It is KCCA. The second question should be, on whose land was it operating? Does that person still want the market to be there? Yes or no? Then the third one should be, in which manner are the people that have been operating in these areas moved? Now we are on the third question. This started way back. Half of this backyard was already built by HAM. We came here, we said procedure was not followed, X, Y, and Z, it was overtaken by events. Now, there is a fully constituted council. In the midst is a school that has only, a Nachivubo settlement that has around 30 children, surrounded by markets in a place of clash and clang. If we had sat together, we would have devised means to relocate these people in a place where they would own a title in lives, because these are poor people. Just like it happened to Owino Market, where we said that the developers should be the tenants, so that they own something in the city. Kiseka Market, the developers are the owners. The issue here is that there is lack of some substance of truth. They are not 50,000 people. This is also a lie. 50,000 people is like Nambole Stadium full. It's not factually true. But even if there were 2,000, they are breadwinners for another 1,000 through families and those that they educate. Now, what should we do? The question you raised, Madam Speaker, once here before, was to ask KCCA to tell us how many stalls are available in the market. That answer was never produced here. Therefore, the eviction was definitely rushed. We should not be talking of eviction because we know the landowner is government. Government has rights over that land. The licensor is city council. If city council withdraws your license, then you cannot operate. Therefore, what we are addressing now is the relocation. Do we have the list of inventory of those market vendors? The answer is no. The first question would have been, how many market vendors, and give us their list.
Is the area MP? Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute.
We don't know the actual number. We don't know the actual list. We don't know the actual stores. Where the minister's statement falls short is to show us that vendor X, called Abdallah Chiwai, was relocated to Usafi on store number 19. Vendor Y, called Musoke Sero, was relocated in Wandegea, store number 650. Because before there was an eviction of that nature in Wandegea, but when you pass there, you also bite your tongue, because now Wandegea looks much better, whether you want it or not. But is it for the good or for the better? Whereas we cannot be impediments to development, and we all agree. The issue is that let's work together harmoniously and make the process all inclusive. We shall have swift development that is acceptable to all. But now we must devise the solutions. Can we task the minister to to come back with the entire list of inventory to show all the vendors and where they were relocated.
Okay, complete your statement.
Even if we continue to lament here without giving a solution, then we shall be wasting time. Let those who allege that we are not compensated or we are not relocated come up. We bring the inventory. A committee, a joint committee between all of us sits. The minister this side, the council this side, the leaders this side, and the vendors this side. We see how to relocate them. If they are in excess, we create more space and we build temporary stores. That's a win-win situation for all of us. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mutambara, then Katusime. Let's get this one and then Katusime. Here and then Katusime.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as a young man, I came from Tambara and stayed at the Old Kampala Mosque with my sister. And I saw a market started by the Minister of Local Government then, by names of Jaberi Bidandi Sali. It was purely for the poorest of the poor. It used to be occupied by old women who had the catastrophe that had befallen this country in the 80s, and I will not elaborate. Right Honorable Speaker, certain things are difficult to take, and I listened to the minister carefully. Let's not make certain things in this country inevitable. Let's not make certain situations in this country inevitable. The people will one day rise up. The stakes are higher because they are matters of life and death. There is a small group which we must clearly look at in Kampala. Ham Towers. Ham what? They specialize in acquiring people-centered properties. They are so rich, they can buy from the open market. But they cocoon themselves around the free properties of the people who all struggle to get properties. Let's look at Ham Towers. He built on the roadside around Makerere. And it's what Kampala State Council has been expanding that road. What has it done? It has encroached on Makerere University and protected Ham Towers. The same Ham Towers go to Chiseka, goes to Nachivubo, builds an illegal structure, and he gets away with it. Now, when the minister comes here and tells us without a structure plan that the whole one individual has even an intelligence network, Parliament must interest itself who Am Tower is. Because if we don't, the people will take us on. Right Honorable Speaker, the other issue I want to talk about, and very carefully, is the issue of compensation. When this so-called mismanagement happened in Kampala, government lost billions of money. We lost billions of money over Nakasero Market to Basajja Balaba. We lost billions of money on Chiseka Market to one Kano, Mujeni. When you look at this small group, Basajja Balaba, Mugenyi, Ham Towers, they've become such a menace to the poorest of the poor. It is high time we mention them by word so that people know. And these are young men. We must also interest how they've made money. Yes. And who owns the money? This country cannot be taken for a ride. I also have done a lot of politics around Kampala, and I know what.
Katusime.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. First of all, I want to congratulate the House upon yesterday's election. It was wonderful, and I thank God that even when we were celebrating, I've not had a bad report. Secondly, as a Ugandan, I'm concerned about what happened the other day at Parkyard. This is a national issue because all our people are there. I'm a leader in Chankwanz, but I have my people there and everyone here. So such issues should be handled without any connotations of the party or the government where you belong. As a young parent, I am worried if I died today, God forbid, where would I leave my children in this environment where no one seems to care about the less privileged? Just think about it, you people. Madam Speaker, we are doing a post-mortem. People have already been pushed away, property destroyed. But what we have to do, we make sure that we can guard against such happenings in the future, or even organize this so that it can put this bad image out of our faces. I'm of the view that since the leaders seem not to have been consulted, the leaders within Kampala especially, I'm requesting the minister that we should always bring them on board. Without issues like this is opposition or so, because I've heard their views, they are good. For example, if what Honorable Sereko and the rest have said, if they were brought on board surely, this thing would not have gone to this extent. It is tinting a bad picture on this government. My parents and my relatives lost lives and property when this government was coming to power through the Bush War. I feel very bad if I see a few elements trying to tint a bad picture on this government so that people can hate it. And if anything happens that this government loses power because of such wrong people, it's a hurting to me because it reminds me of the people that we lost. So I'm requesting honorable members and the House, let us devise means of doing issues, handling such public issues amicably when we are together without issues of politics and what have you, so that we can even have a good picture as national leaders and also help our less privileged people to create development and hence the development of the whole country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, honourable members, Minister, I'll come to you. I think I'm inclined to take what Honourable Sereko has proposed. And I think it's an indictment on all of us that the poor have been pushed and pushed and pushed, and we haven't found a solution. I went to school here in Shimoni, but there's no more school. That school was for the children of the poor who could walk. The children of the police, they could walk from Chibuli to Shimoni, not there. I grew up in Naguru. It is not there. We were displaced, and there's nothing going on. There's just a wall. The hawkers were chased. They're in this town. We don't know where they are. The other vendors, we don't know where they are. I think, honourable members, we must rise to the occasion. It is only us who can speak for those people. So I want the Minister for Kampala to come and bring us a list of the people who are in the other place and where they have gone, name by name, and we want to report next week. This is a serious matter. We cannot continue treating people as if they are not Ugandans. So those who have gone to Wandagai want to know. Those who are in Rusafi want to know. Those in Ham Towers want to know. Those who have nowhere to go want to know. I think, members, that's what we should do. That's our responsibility. Yes, Minister? So we want a report next week, name by name, so that we know. Let's make a beginning. We can't continue treating people as if they are rubbish. So, honourable members, the debate will continue next week when the Minister brings the list of the allocations. Thank you very much. I will now amend the order paper to allow the Minister for Gender should be making a statement. But let us go to question time, and then we can come back to the statement. So, question time.
Item number 4 on the order paper, Prime Minister's time.
Yes, Honorable Taka.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, it is now 2 weeks since electricity was disconnected at the only hospital in the district of Bugiri. Right Honorable Prime Minister, you are aware that a hospital needs power during surgery, for sterilizing instruments, X-rays, name it. But for a hospital, because of an accumulated bill, a parastatal that distributes power on behalf of government under the private-public partnership in the names of Umeme can go ahead to disconnect power in a government hospital. Right Honorable Prime Minister, right now the people of Bugiri are listening. They have been asking questions. I would like you to give them an answer after overwhelmingly supporting the government that they love most, to the extent that they had to kick out the leader of opposition, Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Okay. Prime Minister.
Please give them an answer.
Right Honorable Speaker, I salute the people of Bugiri for solidly standing by the movement. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of electricity bills. It's true, all of us are expected to meet our bills, to pay our bills. Unfortunately, the problem of Bugiri reflects what is happening in a number of other districts. Apache is one clear case. And the problem is that the money received by the district general hospitals is not adequate yet for clearing the bills. And to make it worse, the power to the district hospitals, many of them, is not only connected to the actual hospital buildings, but also to the quarters of the hospital workers. And sometimes the management and use of power is not adequately controlled. So the Minister of Health and I have discussed the matter, and the Ministry of Finance. The matter is being pursued with the aim of getting power reconnected as quickly as possible and getting a more permanent solution to these regular disconnections by Umeme, which inconvenience not only patients but all of us.
Thank you. Honorable Badiri, then Wafaki. Honorable Badiri.
It's not, okay. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to ask the Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister, for a person to get a certificate, that is a Uganda Certificate of Education O level, you must sit for at least 80 subjects. And recently, we have developed a recent curriculum reducing the number of subjects. And most of the subjects which are removed are art subjects. And for a blind student to study, they can't study biology, chemistry, and physics because of their sight. But now, because of the removal of these 10 subjects, which include political science, art, office administration, and so on, it has reduced their subjects to 7. That means they will not attain the aid, they will not get a certificate. What can we do to such students? What can we do to help them get a certificate? Thank you very much.
Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, if the position as described by our sister Babadiri is correct, government has no choice but to review the matter in order to ensure that our countrymen and women who cannot read or write are able, who are blind, or are able to access education. So her point is going to be taken up with the ministry responsible for education to ensure that the people who are disabled are adequately catered for in our curriculum.
Novafaki. Then, yes, Otieno. Then got the chair of education, then I come to side.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have two questions for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister,
One question.
You are aware, last week I asked you how the government is prepared to save people from hunger. And again, I proposed that the government should look at waiving taxes on food such that we can have surplus food here for 6 months. I followed you and requested you to table it in cabinet. I want to know, did you table it? And if you did, what was the outcome? When are you bringing it here so that Parliament can discuss about it and we have a waiver of taxes for 6 months for people to have food here in Uganda? Tell us. Number two, you are aware that the population of the cattle in cattle corridors is getting extinct. You have asked for a solution of the fake acaricides that are facing farmers in this country. No solution up to this has been done. Bwana Prime Minister Ndugu, can you tell me the decisive answer so that I can go on Friday and tell my farmers in the council? Thank you very much.
Prime Minister.
Right, Honourable Speaker, the Honourable Member has raised key issues on question of the cattle corridor and the challenges being faced by the cattle livestock owners. The Minister responsible for livestock will come to this House and make a specific statement on the matter within the next week. The statement will be in this House. It is an urgent matter. Secondly, on the question of taxation for the food and other related issues involving money, the Minister of Finance is going to come to the House and give an elaborate explanation on the position by government over the issues of money and taxation of food.
Otieno, then Galiwango, Tumzigu, then I come to side.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, Madam Speaker, may I know from the Right Honourable Speaker, Right Honourable Prime Minister, the position of the executive arm of government on the rampant sale of government land or public land by the Uganda Land Commission, despite its constitutional mandate to hold and manage any land in Uganda that is vested in or acquired by the government of Uganda. Thank you.
Okay, Prime Minister.
So, Right Honourable Speaker, the question was not very straight, but the point is that Uganda Land Commission is a custodian on behalf of the people of Uganda for what belongs to Uganda and Ugandans in terms of land. Sometimes there has been some issuance of land by the Uganda Land Commission, which has generated, I must say, substantial amount of controversy, and the government is already taking measures to streamline Uganda Land Commission to ensure that any irregularities of that nature do not recur.
Now Galiwango, then Timuzigu. Let's go this side, then I'll come back there.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like the Prime Minister to find out about this issue, but we need a solution about it. While I drive home in the night from 8 onwards, I find so many children putting on primary school uniform, going back to their homes. And I have a few in my home, and I was informed that they are requested to go to school up to 8 o'clock, and they are day scholars. Right Honorable Speaker, this poses a lot of danger to these small children, and many times we've experienced rape cases to these children and even other elder people. What plans do you have to notify these schools not to make children be in school up to late in the night, yet they again have to report at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's still dark? We need our children to study, yes, but we also need their safety, because many of those walk to school, those who cannot afford other transport. Would like to know what plans do you have for that, because I'm uncomfortable as an educationist seeing very little children walking even when it's raining in the night. And as a parent, I want to thank you.
Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, the question of young children going to class up to 8 in the evening is obviously not acceptable, and it requires the Ministry of Education to enforce regulations to ensure that children have enough time to study but have enough time to rest, and young children require a lot of time for rest. And studying at night, to the best of my knowledge, is not part of the practices that are authorized by the Ministry of Education. So this is an important matter. I'll take it up with the Ministry of Education to take the necessary measures to protect our children.
Then I go to Nomaganda, Deogratius.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I'll come back there. I've seen you.
Right Honorable Prime Minister, as it is well known in Uganda that land grabbing is rampant, and the government land out there, most of it does not have land titles, and even the land grabbers are very rich and can easily bribe anybody to do anything. We are worried of our land at the district level, sub-county level, and even parish level. Which plans as government do you have to make sure that our land in the whole country, that is government land, is secure from land grabbers? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, the question of land grabbing is a common issue, and again we have discussed it in this very august house. And it's true that government land is a target. Government has already taken a decision to survey its land, to title it as a measure to protect it. But let me also alert you, friends, that a lot of land is in the hands of the district land boards who have the responsibility over land in their respective districts. It's important for us as political leaders to sensitize the population to know that public land, government land, belongs to them ultimately, and that they should not allow anybody to mess with it, to grab it, because that person will be grabbing what belongs to the people of Uganda. Nevertheless, the vigilance I have talked about and surveying the land is going to take place to secure government land.
Thank you, Honorable Namaganda. Then the gracious.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, for 3 consecutive years, government has been including Vira Sembabule Road in the budget. However, up to now, there is no work being done on that road. My people would want to know when is work going to start. Thank you.
Prime Minister? Villa Maria? Is that, what is the road?
Vira Sembabule Road.
Vira Sembabule Kanoni
When it is
Gomba.
going to start? There are very many important roads. I see Honorable Chris Bariumus smiling. So I notice one of the priority roads, the specific timing as to when work will commence would be given to you by the minister responsible for works.
The gracious. Then we come there.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Here, then I come here.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I have matters raised to the Prime Minister. Right Honorable Prime Minister, you know very well that the country has been hit by drought for a long time. After the drought, we have got rains, which have been very, very serious and bad. We have had a number of homesteads destroyed, food crops destroyed, including not only Bukoma Simbi, but even Kamudi, where the Speaker comes from. Right Honorable Speaker, we have consistently and a number of times we have written to the Speaker, to the Prime Minister's office for relief items to assist our people. But up to now, there is no positive response from you. May I know from you, what time does it take for somebody to be assisted when the house has been deroofed? Thank you.
No, Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, it's true we have received reports of how rain has come with vengeance after hiding away from us for a long time. And it's true a number of areas have been affected in the country. But Right Honorable Speaker, only yesterday we launched the National Food Security Assessment Report, which gave a global view, global in terms of Uganda, on the food situation. And it is well known, at least from this report, that the most affected areas of the country are Teso, Karamoja, Bukedi, the Kato Corridor, parts of Busoga, Lango, Acholi, West Nile, and some areas of central Uganda. We have also received actually substantial amount of some food, if I may quote, and also invested in some money. If I may quote, government has so far committed 25 billion for relief, and procurement is taking place because we are procuring 60,000 bags of 100 kilograms of maize flour. We're also getting 15,000 bags, each 100 kilos of beans. This is going to improve our capacity to reach areas that we have not been able to reach in terms of distribution of food to the most vulnerable groups. So, in a nutshell, the areas where there has been destruction, government will endeavor to support the communities of the people that are affected with the relief and help them to recover from the damages that have been caused by rain.
Yes, let's go to the back there, and then Namboze, then these two, and I come back this side.
I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The two questions I would like to pose to Right Honorable Prime Minister comes from the contract that was given to Specon, from Specon, a company which was in liquidated state, and later that company, Specon, gave a subcontract to WU to rehabilitate a road that is Busunju Namungona. However, Specon failed to meet its obligation. That is making WU leave the contract. The question I would like to pose to you, why would you not continue giving tender to companies that are in receiving end? And when is that road resuming to be constructed? Thank you.
No, Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, if a company meets the essential requirements to compete and successfully competes, it does the work. Of course, in the course of doing the work, it may get problems of finance or other related issues. If it collapses, government still has an obligation to ensure that the work was supposed to be done is completed. Therefore, it's a question of now contractual obligations and the management of the contract and the subcontract, and this is a matter that is important that is going to be followed up by the Ministry of Works.
Namboze, then
thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Then Gunahasa, I come this side.
Right Honorable Speaker, today I want the Prime Minister once and for all to tell Ugandans the government position on the election of LOC1s and LOC2s. Madam Speaker, yesterday you conducted a very successful election here. And we voted in a secret ballot, and I congratulate you. But when I went back to Mukono, my people were saying, you people, you are very selfish. All elections that concern you nationally, you hold them. You have held the presidential elections, you held the parliamentary elections, you have held now the elections for Yala, even by-elections for positions that have become vacant in parliament are being organized. What is the final position now, Mr. Prime Minister, of government on the issue of LOC1? And isn't it time for you to consider bringing an amendment here for us to abolish these councils, if at all we can't afford them, afford our people to elect their leaders? Thank you.
Prime Minister.
The question of disempowering the people of Uganda to elect their leaders will not be countenanced. So the question of bringing an amendment along those lines is out of question. Secondly, the position is, as we have stated before, that LOC elections are going to be held, and at the same time, the body that has got mandate, statutory authority to announce the election date is the Electoral Commission, and it's not my intention to usurp their mandate.
Nogutamoy, then Gonahasa, then I go a bit on this side. I'll come back and find around to you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, In 2006, this government donated to an investor lands belonging to Simone Demonstration School to construct a 5-star hotel for Sogam. Now, as you drive along this road, you see very insignificant development on that land. Again, in 2010, Nakawa Tinda estate land was given to another investor to develop the village settlers' estates. Similarly, up to date, there's no significant development there. Are these investors not serious, or have they not defrauded the government and the people of Uganda? What is your say about this? No policy to change the status quo or otherwise? People of Uganda are concerned. Please.
Prime Minister.
Honorable Moi is raising a serious point. It's true that we have had contractors that have not performed as expected, and consequently, a number of projects have not taken off or have barely taken off. It's true that in the case of Nakawa, government, after waiting for OPIC Prime to take off and failing, decided to give part of the land to the Aga Khan complex to be able to put up an ultra-modern hospital, which they are indeed intending to do, and we are convinced that they are going to develop that area fairly soon. Government, meanwhile, continues to make contacts with the OPIC Prime and the lawyers to see how quickly to resolve the issue of developing the other part of Nakawa. Government will now take seriously people who accept contracts and fail to perform. Government will be very firm in dealing with them because they are wasting our time, they are wasting our money, and they are hindering the development of our country.
Honorable Hassa, then I go to Obua, Sylvia, and Amira. In that order first.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Right,
Honorable Speaker.
I'm looking for people who contribute in the other debates.
Yeah, my
I'm looking for those who do contribute in the other debates, so that we are all on the Hansard. Yes.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, my question to the Right Honorable Prime Minister is almost related to those projects that are promised and nothing happens. Recently, I was in my constituency, and we have got a few more sub-counties allocated, and I want to thank the Minister of Local Government for that. But the challenge we have is that for every sub-county granted to the people, there is a policy that they should have a seed secondary school and a health center 3. And each constituency created should have a vocational skills training center. Unfortunately, this doesn't seem to be happening. And I understand, well, we don't have a lot of cloth, so we may have to make a short-sleeved coat. But it seems we keep making promises and giving, really allocating new administrative structures without a good enough budget to support these things. It makes my life as the leader of this constituency very difficult. One team came to me and said, can you please build us? Can you please build us a health center? Can you build us a school? Only last week I was in Kabwiri. And the problem we have now as young leaders, some of you very young, others like me, we think we can do what the government is supposed to do. I'm proud of people who can give ambulances to their villages, but this is not sustainable. What is the role of the government in making sure our people have the secondary schools, which are by policy established, and the health centers, and those vocational skills training centers? Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Before the Prime Minister answers, honourable members, I think I would ask the clerk to arrange for screening of the question time in the House of Commons. because we are taking so much time debating, answering ourselves, then asking questions. I think, Clerk, I'm directing you to arrange for a screening so that members can watch it and we move fast. Yes, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. It is true we have tended to create more administrative units than the capacity to easily service them. Nevertheless, it remains a clear policy of government over the time to build a health center 3 for every sub-county and a secondary school for every sub-county.
Honorable Obua, Sylvia, and Ndamira, in that order first.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, in this current financial year and last financial year, the Uganda Police Force, with funding support from the PRDP, supervised under your office, had earmarked construction of police stations for the new districts under PRDP region. 2, they also earmarked to procure double cabin pickups that would be given to districts that did not receive in the first phase. A case in point in Lao sub-region, out of 8 districts, only 6 received the PRDP cars that were given to CID department. To be specific, it is a Leptong and Otuke that did not receive. My question to you, Right Honorable Prime Minister, these are 2 financial years, and you are the direct supervisor of PRDP. When are you availing funds to Uganda Police Force in order for the police stations, for the districts that were promised to be constructed, and the CID cars to be procured and handed over to them? Thank you.
Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, it is intention of government to fulfill her plans with regard to PRDP. And with regard to vehicles, since 6 districts out of 8 have already received the vehicles, it's clear that the government has done well in implementing that program, and the remaining will be done.
Now Sylvia, and then Ndamira.
Thank you very much, the Right Honourable Speaker and the Right Honourable Prime Minister. On the 18th of November 2016, we had a meeting in Lira on the issues of traders who were seriously rioting. We had a meeting with the foreign traders, the local traders, and the Minister of Trade, Honorable Amelia Chambade. She came up with very good resolutions. One of them is having the list of the foreign traders and what they do by the mid-December last year. And she went ahead in the resolution and said, non-Ugandan traders, their documents will be validated by latest 30th of December last year. But the Right Honourable Prime Minister, I want to tell you that the traders are now selling popcorns. They are now selling, they are handling butchers in Lira. They are selling slippers and those kind of things. What are the plans that government have in place to make sure the promises that the minister gave the people of Lango, the traders on behalf of government, what is it going to happen now that the dates have elapsed? Thank you.
Prime Minister.
Yeah, Right Honourable Speaker, it is true that the minister responsible for trade is carrying out this exercise so as to ensure that people who come as investors don't end up becoming permanent sellers of popcorns and other related items. So give the minister some little more time to complete her work.
Honorable Ndamira. Then I think, okay, Mijumbi hasn't spoken. Musana. You spoke in the other meeting. No. I'm looking for members who haven't spoken. Yes, you have been quiet. Yes. We are Honorable Damira.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, this is my second time creating your awareness on this matter concerning people drowning in Lake Bunyonyi. At least every day, 5 souls perish in this lake, and as I speak now, people are having vigil at the side of the lake, looking for their dead bodies. They are not seeing them. Right Honorable Prime Minister, I want to know whether the government can provide life jackets for them at least to be seen under that deep lake. I thank you so much.
Right Honorable Speaker, I share the concern of my sister. It is true that there is a shortage of resources at the moment, but the minister responsible for planning, Minister of State for Finance, in charge of planning in Bahati, who is also the Member of Parliament for Lake Bunyonyi, is working hard to ensure that some money for the ferry can be found. So I'm sure he will give us a good report soon on how he's going to solve that matter.
Honorable, let's hear from Barara. Vijum.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Prime Minister, my question is, it's a concern in this country. We are having people claiming to be doctors, and they go on radios and claim to treat everything. Some of them are herbalists, and some of them are people who engage in selling food supplements. Yet we know in this country, doctors, the trained ones, are not even supposed to advertise themselves. These people, they have even started doing outreaches in the community. You hear them on radio telling certain people in communities, we are coming and we treat everything. So what is government doing to protect our people so that they are not exploited? Thank you very much.
Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, our sister from Barara has raised an important point. It's true, by profession and ethics of the medical profession, doctors are not supposed to advertise themselves. So one elimination point, therefore, or as it is that if you hear somebody advertising themselves as doctors, almost certainly know that that person is not a doctor. Secondly, the Ministry of Health, through its various bodies, is intensifying its search, inspection of various premises to ensure that quack doctors are not in operation. Thirdly, there is the question of traditional healers. Traditional medicine is a well-known practice not only in this country but globally. However, it is also heavily infiltrated by people who have no idea about medicine. Some are good, but there are also many who join the field and say they are traditional when in fact they are not. So government, through the Ministry of Health, is collaborating with genuine traditional healers, with their association, to see how they can be organized so that the fleecing and hoodwinking of the population can be curtailed. So the Ministry of Health is working hard on this.
Then Semuli.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Oh, coffee. Yes.
At this year's budget speech, government envisaged that the economy would grow at 5%, a modest figure. Of recent, the media is awash with speculation that the economy of Uganda has collapsed and a number of enterprises and companies are closing shop. Unfortunately, government has not come out to deny or confirm that our economy is in shambles. Mr. Prime Minister, is the economy of Uganda in shambles? And if so, what stimulus measures has government undertaken to revamp the economy?
Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, the economy of Uganda is not in shambles. The economy of Uganda is actually strong. So strong that has been able to be resilient in spite of the numerous challenges that the country has been facing. However, this matter is so crucial for honorable colleagues to be kept posted and the country to be kept posted. Next Tuesday, the Minister of Finance will come here and make a statement to appraise honorable members and the country on the state of the Ugandan economy.
Now, Samuli. Samuli, then Kajinda.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, during the previous presidential campaigns, His Excellency the President was the head of government, the head of state, at the same time the fountain of honor as provided by the Constitution, promised Ugandans that the government would provide 2 million shillings to every registered group within any local village. And this was actually reiterated recently when he was in Masindi. Right Honorable Prime Minister, I would like to know, please inform the government, when is the government rolling out this initiative?
The government will roll out this initiative as soon as resources are mobilized.
No, Kajinda.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to inform you that today I'm in the shoes of the leader of opposition, so I will raise more than one question. Right Honorable Prime Minister, why does the Ministry of Internal Affairs prefer to recruit fresh graduates from universities, yet there are many officers in lower ranks who have graded their education, acquired degrees, and have not been given consideration for the promotions to cadet officers? The second one, Right Honorable Prime Minister, I agree with Honorable Namboze that Electoral Commission Electoral Commission is on record that for them they are ready. But it is the government which has failed them to release money. What is the status? You tell the whole country. Because I can assure you, Right Honorable Prime Minister, that those people want to contest, they are already campaigning. And you know what it means. This is a rainy season. You want these people to know their faith and start planting. Otherwise, they are still in campaign. They are in campaigns. Another question, Right Honorable Prime Minister. Honorable Betty Kamya, Minister of Kampala, belongs to Federal Alliance. Honorable Minister Betty Amongi belongs to UPC party. I want to know, do NRM have a formal agreement with Federal Alliance and UPC parties? Because you have seen yourself, you have witnessed what happened here. Even now, the members of NRM themselves, they are asking, How? They are there, they are contributing, but they don't know. So you should tell your members, they are caucus members, tell them whether you have an agreement with them. The last one, Right Honorable, right, yeah, yes. Right Honorable Prime Minister, what policies has the government put in place to ensure that children from the poorest families get equal opportunity to access good schools and graduate fees payable by parents? Because, Right Honorable Speaker, today in Uganda, the proprietors of schools charges different fees without any government control. The tuition charged include, among others, application fees, admission fees, commitment fees, development fees, and actually for this term, some parents have paid up to the tune of 3 million, and this is a senior one student. Really, what is the government to do at least to harmonize the situation on the ground? Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, my brother Kajinda has raised a number of issues. His point about police recruiting fresh graduates, when in fact those who have upgraded while within the police have not been considered, it's not quite accurate. It's true, police recruits fresh graduates, but it's also true that those who have graduated within the police are gradually being elevated, promoted, taking into account the fact that they have acquired higher qualifications in education. The speed may be not as fast as we want, but I know that police is working on that. The issue of elections, Rera had made reference to it. There may be some little adjustments required and discussions between the Electoral Commission and Finance, and those are being resolved. So I expect that the Electoral Commission will, using its statutory mandate, come up and inform the country as to when elections are going to take place. The issue of our sister Bet Kamya and Bet Amongi, you could even have added our sister Nakiwara. All I can say is that these sisters have made enormous contribution to the working of government. And in a way, they have given the country a stronger government, a better government, a more united government, and better united Uganda. I hope that the example will be emulated by many who are still wondering. These ladies have taken a correct step. Please emulate the great example.
Order.
Now
Order.
The last point.
Order, Madam Speaker. Order, Madam Speaker.
Point of order.
Madam Speaker, I raise on a point of order. Madam Speaker, we are talking about issues which are constitutional in nature. Ugandans gave out themselves a constitution which provides that if a person crosses from one side to another, especially where such a person is a member of parliament, that person will also vacate the seat to offer people in that constituency an opportunity to elect a person well knowing which side of the house that person belongs to. Is the Right Honorable Prime Minister therefore in order to continue talking so casually about issues that are well spelled out in our constitution? Because, Madam Speaker, The leader of opposition's question was, under what legal framework are UPC members serving in the NRM government and sitting on the right side of the speaker in this house? Is in order? The DP person is not a member of parliament here, so the law doesn't touch her. But in a case where a person was elected on a UPC ticket as an opposition, how does she sit on that side? Under what legal framework is he in order to address us so casual about such a very important matter?
Honourable members, on the issues of crossing, the member crossing is required to notify the speaker that he or she has crossed. I've not received a letter from Honourable Amongi, I've not received a letter from anybody. As far as I'm concerned, nobody has crossed. So it's in order.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. The final point, Right Honourable Speaker, is...
Item 5, item 5, item 5, item 5.
So, finally, on the issue of poor children accessing education, an important point, through promotion of UPE and universal secondary education, these children are going to access high quality education.
Item 5.
Item 5.
No, we have gone beyond the 45 minutes. Item 5.
Statement by Minister on the occasion of commemorating International Women's Day, 8th March 2017.
Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, Honourable Members of Parliament, I'm pleased to have this opportunity to brief this
With
August
2 degrees.
on
So
the
I know what I'm
commemoration
talking
of the
about.
International Women's Day on the 8th of March 2017. The annual commemoration of the International Women's Day in Uganda is a national event. In this regard, my ministry coordinates the activities to mark the day in collaboration with stakeholders in government, civil society, and development partners. The International Women's Day is marked under the selected theme, which for this year is Women Empowerment in Changing World of Work. The theme is adopted from the international theme of 2017, which is Women's Economic Empowerment in the Changing World of Work, Planet 50-50 by 2030. This theme recognizes that the world of work is changing. This offers both opportunities and challenges for women, young, old women, and women with disabilities. The theme calls for support to equal participation of men and women in the changing world of work, to accelerate achievements of gender equality and women's empowerment as part of the 2030 Global Agenda for Sustainable Development. In Uganda, the NRM government has made significant gains to ensure a conducive legal and policy framework that supports both women and men in the work environment. The Constitution provides for equality and protection of rights of all to employment, the rights to safety and health, and freedoms from discrimination. Laws in place including Employment Act 2006, the Occupational Safety and Health Act 2006, the Labor Union Act of 2006, the Workers' Compensation Act, CAP 225, and the Sexual Harassment Regulation of 2012. The Uganda National Employment Policy 2011 recognizes that the empowerment of vulnerable groups, including women, is important for wealth creation. The Uganda Gender Policy 2007 prescribes interventions to improve the earning potential of women, taking into consideration their livelihood needs. Several other policies on trade and cooperatives, agriculture, education, and private sector development provides for women's increased participation and inclusion. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members, despite the supportive legal and policy environment, there are challenges that need to be addressed. And these include women's limited access and ownership to productive assets including land and credit, the gender pay gaps, income inequality, and sexual harassment at workplaces. In the private sector, women receive an average lower pay than men, with a male-female wage gap that stands at about 39%. Women are the main caregivers in our households, providing for child care, care for the sick, for older persons, as well as family members with disabilities. Their contribution is not monetarily quantified. This calls for measures to support workers with parental care responsibility to access affordable child care services, to benefit from parental leave and other policy measures that enable working to balance with work with their care responsibilities. Women comprise of 53% of the Uganda's labor force and constitute 86.2% of the actors in the informal sector. 13% of the working women are in formal employment, compared to 27.9% of the working men. The informal sector contributes about 55% of GDP, yet it is characterized by low wages, limited job security, long working hours, and lack of regulations and social protection. The quality and the benefits for women working in the informal sector need to be enhanced. There is also need to enhance the opportunities for women to benefit from the economy through affirmative action measures, such as public procurement of goods and services from women-owned businesses. Global innovations in ICT and digital technologies, as well as mobility of labor, are bringing high rapid changes in the world of work. These offer opportunities for women, especially young women. However, women and girls must be well equipped with requisite education, vocational, and entrepreneurial skills to take advantage of the emerging opportunities. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, as highlighted above, it is important that we work towards ensuring decent work and that the labor market offers equal opportunities for women and men. There is also a need to ensure that the world of work is better for the women in Uganda. This will ultimately yield positive results for Uganda's economy, social transformation, and attain a middle income status by 2020. It is against this background that the theme for this year's International Women's Day was chosen. Honourable members of Parliament are informed that the venue for the national celebrations is selected on a rotational basis among the regions of the country. This year, Dokoro District requested and was granted the opportunity to host the event. The venue for the national celebrations will be taken at Dokoro Technical School in Dokoro Town Council. His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda has been invited as the chief guest. All local governments and KCCA have been informed and requested to observe the day in accordance with the guidelines for the commemoration of the national days. I therefore wish to request all honorable members of Parliament to mobilize communities in your districts and constituencies to commemorate the day, and I also request you to endeavor to join my ministry, the women of Uganda, and Dokoro District local government to celebrate the International Women's Day on the 8th of March. I thank you for God and my country.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable members have been informed that Honourable Ogwal will host you in Dokoro for the International Women's Day. So, any comments? Yes, Honourable Ngabirano, then Honourable Kamateka, then I think I come down here. Yes, Honourable Ngabirano, 3 minutes. Yes, I'll come to you. They're not working?
It is now on. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for the statement, and I thank all the women for this day and congratulate you. Right Honourable Speaker, the Honourable Minister is calling upon us to organize this day in our constituencies, but I wanted to comment that this policy is dwindling. The National Day should be organized in such a way that those who cannot manage to go to the main venue are well organized into their localities. In Dokoro, it is us who have the means who will go, the leaders, but we are supposed to mobilize the grassroots women. Therefore, Right Honourable Speaker, I want to call upon the ministry to change the format in which we celebrate these days, so that we automatically know if 8th is Women's Day, we have functions across the country at the same time. So that some ministers, some of us can be guest of honors in other areas, so that it's celebrated and recognized. Because when it is done now, you'll see in October they are calling for Women's Day. In this district they are calling for Women's Day elsewhere. So it does not come out to educate us very well. It does not come out with the pomp it deserves. It gets isolated and then does not achieve a lot of sensitization. I have seen this before. We used to have Independence Day at one time in all the districts. It would be colorful. Or if we can't do that, let's organize activities that run through a week, like Right Honourable Speaker you did for the Parliamentary Week, which was very successful here. As we talk today, you cannot hear anybody talking about Women's Day. Even most of us are just hearing it today. Therefore, I would request that for purposes of educating a woman, for purposes of promoting this day, for purposes of delivering the message, let's change the format of celebration and organization. I thank you.
No, maybe the minister will answer, but you know, you're asking the minister to deploy throughout the country, officials to go and officiate. That's what you're asking. If we are to do it on the same day, to deploy minister this to Kanungo, minister that to Butaleja, minister that. That's what you're asking. So that's done on the same day. Okay, because we are the same people who are required to sit in Dokoro. Honorable, but she will answer. Honorable Kamateka. Kamateka, then we go to Ababiku, Butaleja, Asamo. Okay, I'll come to you.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for the statement and to thank her for it coming a bit earlier so that we have time to digest it before the National Day, the International Day. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members, I am worried about the theme of this day, which is empowerment of women in the changing world of work. Certainly this is a noble theme, and the Minister's statement touches on issues of rights of women, issues that we should be working on, but to me it seems to be an elitist theme, and we are going to celebrate it up country in the villages. How do you mobilize the local woman and you are teaching her about the changing world of work? What work are we talking about? It is not until actually number 7, paragraph 7, that the minister addresses herself to the concerns of the local woman whom we represent here. I know we represent all the women of Uganda, and their concerns are real. Things like equal work for equal pay, things like putting conducive facilities in place so that they can play their role in the home as wives, as mothers. But we have not addressed the concerns of the local woman who is still suffering. The fact that, yes, the minister talks of accessing land, but even here it is accessing land for credit facilities, for example. We are not talking of the local woman being able to access land so that she can carry out production on that piece of land and have equal rights with her husband, or be able to produce on this piece of land and be able to sell the produce and get benefits from it. So my worry is that it is an elitist theme, which we could have celebrated in Kololo. These are important matters which we must address ourselves to, but to carry them to Dokolo, I'm wondering about the relevance. I thank you.
Thank you. Ababiku, then Millie, then we go to the back there. Asamo.
Okay. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for the statement. First of all, Right Honourable Speaker, as women, we are the majority in terms of population. But I'm more concerned about the facilitation of Women's Day celebration. I yearly celebrate mine in Adjuman district on the same date, but with a lot of challenges, whereby the district fails to adequately facilitate this day. Therefore, can we know from your ministry how you plan for the districts to celebrate this day without fair funding? Two, Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister raised the challenges faced by women. I want to narrow on the rural woman. Right Honourable Speaker, it is true the policies are available, but you'll find that the burden being carried by a rural woman is increasing on daily basis. Therefore, I pray that the ministry intervenes so that there is adequate sensitization. It's about mindset change. There's a lot of issues on domestic violence. Therefore, if you look at the law where people should be just arrested, that to me is not a primary strategy, but we need to educate. Because at times, this is done by their husbands. Therefore, I pray that the community services is highly supported so that the mindset change is really worked on. Then lastly, you talked about having fair opportunities for girls and women through skilling. I agree with you, but Honorable Minister, there's high level of school dropout, especially affecting the girl child. Therefore, in turn, the women get affected because it is from childhood that a girl enjoys the opportunity and eventually becomes a woman. What specific strategies does the ministry has to ensure that the girl child dropout is reduced? Thank you.
Honorable Millie Mugenyi, Asamo Chekamondo, then we come here. Or Amoris Dokoro, then we come this side.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for the statement. I will dwell myself on the achievements that she has spelled out. She has well told us that this day is for us women and other Ugandans to commemorate the achievement of the empowerment of women. This really means that we have to bring on board all vulnerable people to benefit from this day. Now this one brings me back to what the previous speaker has said, that if this is the case, may we know from you, Madam Minister, how much money you've allocated to the districts in the celebration of this day. Secondly, the women members of parliament are the stakeholders in the celebration of this day. I want to inform you, Madam Minister, that there is a lot of politics in our districts, and some of the cows and chairmen use this day to decampaign us women members of parliament. May I know from you how you're going to help us, the women members of parliament, to make this day commemorable and, you know, we address the vulnerable people. If I'm to hold this celebration at the district headquarters, how do I let the other women in other sub-counties that are very far away from the venue to benefit from this day?
Ravasamo, then Chekamondo, then we'll come to you. Let the ladies, then I come to you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for her report, her statement. Madam Speaker, I remember some few years back, we used to have so many activities running before the 8th of March. Then you'd have the feeling of the women from all over the country. Because I remember we used to participate in the kind of shows. Women would come and show their things in different places. Women could do drama. Women could go for legal aid. They could go for cancer screening. You know, when we go to one center, everybody is interested. When the president leaves, then that's the end of the function. So the women don't feel it. I also wanted to, I'm wondering the theme. How do we monitor it? Last year we had the theme. It could be good to give Parliament a report what change has come in the women after that theme, so that we keep tracking, are we moving in the right direction? It just shouldn't be statements, and then when it comes to the actualization of the statements, we don't see the change in the women. I will appreciate here we are talking about women with disabilities, but how much is done for these women with disabilities? I think there's something that we need to do beyond statements and come here with real things that can help us. And then I don't know how much the ministry is in touch with the districts, the different districts. Members have already said it, in terms of emphasizing the issue of the Women's Day. I remember when I was growing in Soroti, we used to be taken for acting. We never knew about a national venue. We used to play our things in the local level. Some of us started getting potentials at that level, and people used to tell us, you will become a leader, you know, today you really acted well. So I think the ministry has to begin engaging the districts than looking at only the national venue. It's much cheaper to bring women at the local level than bring them to the national venue. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Chekamondo, then we'll go there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity, and I want to thank the Minister for the paper. Madam Speaker, this is a very important day for the women, and I'm only surprised that as we present this paper, very few women are in the house. Secondly, back in the district, somebody called me today from my district and said we're only given 1,500 because 1.5 million. Because I have 15 sub-counties, they have decided to decentralize it and give every sub-county 100,000. When you look at the population of women in a sub-county given 100,000, I think it doesn't really give us meaning to celebrate in every sub-county at 100,000. Then if I am the woman who is supposed to celebrate this day with my fellow women, how am I going to divide myself? So, Madam Minister, I remember in 8th Parliament, we had these issues, and the program would go to the districts early. The Minister of Gender would send the program early. All the education officers, the administrations at the district are informed of the activities to be involved in the program. Madam Minister, has this gone to the districts so that they are aware that on the Women's Day, these are activities that must be included, and maybe given them also support, financial support on the same? Otherwise, Madam Minister, this is a very important day. We need to respect it, and we need to involve as many activities as possible. I thank you.
Yes, Honourable Member, then Honourable Aruma has gone.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I'm Wasaba Paul, Member of Parliament for Chaka North. Mine is a very simple question, Madam Speaker. Is about how the government determines some districts to host national functions. Madam Speaker, I have checked in the records. I found that since God created Chegegwa district, they have never hosted any national function, whereas other districts host more than 2-3 times. So, Madam Speaker, I just wanted to know how the government determines some districts to host functions. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, Honorable Ogwar, Nambose, Onesimus, then Amoru, Abala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have been requested by the leader of opposition, yes, to stand in for the shadow minister for this docket. Madam Speaker, I want to say that we are grateful that this year the Women's Day is going to be celebrated in Idokolo, the home of Mama Cecily Ogwal. And I want to request my honorable brother to appreciate that when we take these functions to rural areas, we give, my honorable sister, we give the rural women the opportunity to be part of these functions. If we consistently hold these functions in Kololo, we make it very, very difficult for people to travel, say from Kalamoja, Kabale, Dokolo, to come to Kololo. I will not take it. I'm already informed that the function will be at in the Dokolo district.
Point of order. Point of order.
Right Honorable Speaker, is it in order for my sister to intentionally mislead the House that I said that one of the members said that this function should not be held up country and that this function should not be held in Dokoro? Right Honorable Speaker, I said that this theme, being an elitist theme, could easily be dealt with in Kololo because it is meant for the working class. And actually I could add that it can easily or adequately be handled in boardrooms. But when you take a function to the rural people, when you take a function to Mitoma, it should be relevant to the majority of the people of Mitoma. That's what I meant, Madam. So, is the member in order to mislead the House that I meant that functions should be held up country rather than being held in Kampala? Is she in order?
No, Honour members, I think the issue was misunderstood. But what I understand from Honourable Kamateka, if you look at Dokoro, how many workers are actually there? How many factories are there? So that they would understand equal pay for equal work. I think that's what the member was saying, that the ordinary woman of all those sub-counties, how would I understand, how is the issue of equal pay for equal work relevant to them? And I think she's right. In fact, I wanted to ask the minister how you can localize the theme a bit so that it's relevant to the people for honorable. I think this one is okay for the bankers, the doctors, the lawyers, the nurses and teachers, but those are a few compared to the majority. Maybe you could add something to localize. Yes, Honorable Nambose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've been guided and clarified, and I don't want to pursue that line further. Madam Speaker, we as the opposition are worried and concerned about the trend national functions are taking these days. They are organized in such a manner that they are so partisan that women from the opposition find it very difficult to attend. Madam Speaker, one time, it should be recalled that 1 year, sometime back, FDC women went for a function for the Women's Day, and they were harassed, and some of them were arrested. We pray that this year, room be created, that every woman who can be able to travel to Dokolo, including Betty Nambozi, will find there people who are ready to welcome her, and the message that will be coming out of this function will be for all women, irrespective of their political affiliation. Madam Speaker, we are also praying as opposition that in the future we hold evaluation of where we have come from as women and where we want to go, and the report be presented to Parliament so that we can be able to assess and audit what did we achieve last year, what have we achieved this year, and what do we want to achieve the next year. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, we are going into these celebrations when the girl child was told a lie in the President's manifesto that we shall be able to provide sanitary pads for our girls. Because if you want great women tomorrow, you must focus on the girl child today. It is very unfortunate that as a country, we have not been able to realize that. It is still our prayer that this House and government in particular finds money to facilitate the girl child to stay at school.
Point of order.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rarely rise on points of order, but I heard my sister, Honorable Namboze, saying the country was told a lie, captured in a manifesto. As far as I recall, that manifesto says 2016 to 2021. Is it in order for Honorable Namboze to say that a lie was told when actually the manifesto is a 5-year manifesto and we have just started that period? Is she in order?
No, other members, but also in addition to that, I believe the Minister for Higher Education successfully spoke for the budgeting for money here in this House, in the committee. It's ongoing. It's there in the budget. It's not a lie. You're out of order.
I'm comforted, Madam, to learn that this wasn't a lie. It is still a promise that waits to be fulfilled, and it is our prayer that we find the man as a country to do it for our children. Madam Speaker, it's so sad that we are celebrating this year Women's Day when the figures are still the same. 16 women dying in labor, all maternal-related causes per day. How we wish that this number would go down, that all stakeholders will put in what they have so that the mothers of this world don't die in labor. And finally, Madam Speaker, it is the issue of the Domestic Relations Bill that has been always coming to this Parliament and then being put back in the cupboard to wait for another year. Even this year, women are going to celebrate when there is no clear information about the decision, the final decision this country wants to take about the Domestic Relations Bill. And we are so grateful that His Excellency, the President, has accepted to preside over this function. How we wish that one time we would, because he has become a permanent guest of honor on Women's Days. We would like to see one day when you, Madam Speaker, you preside, because you are our pride as a woman. Maybe we would invite some women from international organizations. But you know, His Excellency, day in, day out, year in, year out, every other day. And this Women's Day is now becoming a Men's Day. No wonder that the Minister for Gender here is a woman in a suit. So, Madam Speaker, we want to say that let's not just talk about women issues. Let's give it to them. When it comes to the issue of women councils, Madam Speaker, the youth were facilitated to elect their councils in a separate ballot. The people with disabilities were facilitated to elect their councils in a separate ballot. The elderly were facilitated to elect their councils in a separate ballot. But the women councils, for years, the women have not had their election. And Madam Speaker, we would like to request the government that as we go to celebrate the Women's Day in Idokolo, we want government to give women some of these answers. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
But now she's no longer on the floor, Honorable Saida. Honorable Gwal?
I just wanted to let her know that the Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development is a woman. And she's not in a suit.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. 3 minutes, please.
Right, Honorable Speaker. First of all, I want to appreciate and to thank the Minister of Labour, Labour and what? Gender, Labour and Gender, yes. Yes, but Right, Honorable Speaker, I have every reason to wonder why that ministry still continues to have such a long name after so many years, when we have struggled and fought and talked to have a specific ministry for women affairs. And that's why we are talking in French and English and Swahili about the same thing. We have talked and said there's so many aspects which need to be analyzed and dealt with. But we can only do that if we have a specific ministry of women affairs. And Right, Honorable Speaker, I'll be very grateful if somebody could whisper in the ears of the President that let Dokolo have a Dokolo declaration that will lift women and create history. Because Uganda has produced a unique woman called Mrs. Okwao. And that one, people are proud about it. So, if the world is proud about it, and Africa is proud about it, why not Dokolo? So, Right, Honorable Speaker, that's my concern number one. My concern number two is that the ministry need to be a bit serious. Much as we are really trying to lobby for them to have better budget, better organized, more specialized, to focus on women issues. Every year, we must come up with an audit. Right, Honorable Speaker, the best audit I've ever had of how far we are moved in the last couple of years has been from your office. That's where you have been able to analyze where we have come from when the affirmative action was declared, before and after, and how far we have moved in terms of how women are spread out in leadership position, how we have dealt with rural women affairs. I've only been able to find it in your office. You recall, I had to do some special work, and the only place where I could find that information was in the office of the Speaker of Parliament. I could not find it in the office of Gender. And when I'm serious about a research work, I go physically. And I went physically to the Ministry of Gender. I could not find specialized information that will address the issues I was talking about. So, Right, Honorable Speaker, I am pleading with the Ministry of Gender that every year when you come with a topic for us to celebrate, we want to celebrate. We don't want to quarrel over the issue of women affairs. Some of you are too young to understand how we fought in the Constituent Assembly to arrive at a consensus. So now that you already found a cooked food, cook it now properly, prepare it properly. I'm just asking you to put it in the microwave and eat it. Right, Honorable Speaker?
Yeah. I just wanted to remind you that despite our request to the Ministry of Gender, they have failed to produce the country report. They have failed. They got the United Nations to report, we don't know what they report. We don't know what they report in that thing. But they go with civil society. Parliament doesn't know what you report in the United Nations about us. Yes, Honorable Gwal.
Right, Honorable Speaker, that's what I'm talking about. They must come up with an audit. You must come up with an audit report. How far have we gone? What progress have we made in various aspects? We have asked you to come with maternal health report, audit report. We have not seen it. And you have specialized and skillful
servants of the people, paid by the people, by the taxpayers. We don't get the information. What do you want Parliament to do for you? We give you budget, we are pleading to give you better budget position, and yet you cannot give us what we want, Right Honorable Speaker. That is my concern. Tell us how far we have gone. Now, the minister is telling me something I've read this document, I've listened, and I've tried to read. And the Right Honorable Speaker, I think I have ability to understand. Okay, let me first finish this statement, because I'm not in a very correct mood. Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, it is good that we have made some gains. How are you telling us that we have made gains? What are we celebrating? The theme now is empowerment in the changing world of works. I'm not complaining about the topic while others are complaining. I'm not. Because for me, I want to tell you, we the people of Dokolo want to be challenged. The best training that we have had for women in business and so on has been done in Dokolo by the Enterprise Uganda. And recently we have had the equity investment market people also training our people in Dokolo, and it has been successful. So I'm not scared about you imagining that we cannot grow. We want to be challenged, because we have women who have been educated, they have been able to get jobs. So if you can tell them what they should do and empower them, I will be proud that people now begin to engage themselves and get involved in self-employment and be able to look after themselves. I'm not scared about that. But please, when you come to Dokolo, tell us how far have we moved in as far as empowering women using the empowerment enterprise. Right now, Speaker, the one we fought for, what was it called? Women Empowerment Fund. Exactly.
Yes, that fund.
Yes, entrepreneurship. Tell us. And there have been so many funds coming up in different names. The first lot, what did you do? How much have you achieved? How much have you raised women? Now this one, tell us, and come with figures, how much have you given the people of Dokolo? And how many people have benefited? We want to know. Because some of this money, Right Honorable Speaker, is supposed to go for women. Then these bureaucrats, they tell us, we don't know how to fill the form. Then you go to some people to help you fill the form. They take 10%. Then you go to another one. They tell you when you are supposed to get 23, then you end up getting 15 million. That is a fact. So you must tell us, how can a woman, a rural woman, benefit from this money directly, without having to go through some agencies who will be able to pull some portion of our money. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, it is important as women, we must also address the issue of chain link mechanism. We, the leaders who have arrived at the national leadership platform, how much are we doing to pull the rural women? We keep talking about some of us who are in NGO. We want to help rural women. We want to help rural women. What are you doing to help rural women? What are we doing, we the educated leaders, doing to pull the rural women under the chain link mechanism? So I think this is also one way that you must come out with as a national strategy, not just Dokolo. But when you come to Dokolo, we'll tell you how we have done it in our rudimental way. I think that is, Right Honorable Speaker, how we can address the issue of gender in a more broader perspective. Otherwise, I'm very grateful to the ministry and to the government that the venue this time is going to be Dokolo. Many of you who don't know Dokolo, Dokolo is a rural district, one of the new districts, but it's the fastest growing district in the country. That's how it has been rated. It is not my words, it's the words of those who do statistics. And we have been told from the health perspective, Dokolo is far ahead in terms of fighting hepatitis B prevalence. So Doklo is not a joke. It's a serious district. We are working very hard. Honorable Biaramozi knows that we are on top on many things. When it comes to leadership, we are very serious about leadership. We are the ones who have adopted the government of national unity. We don't only have movement in the executive position, we have movement, we have opposition. We have been able to show that together, regardless of political parties, we can deliver quality leadership. So when you come to Dokolo, don't only focus on the Women's Day celebration. Focus on how we do our management, how we collaborate, people from diversity of political views, how we can work together. And that you learn it and see it in practice in Dokolo. And please don't forget to eat our food. I'll make sure that we try and...
Thank you, thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, we have a lot of work. 2 minutes, Honourable Tumzibu, and then General.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Tuinamas Konesimas, Buganga is East. I want to thank the Honourable Minister for this statement, and I thank the government of Uganda for working hard towards emancipating our women in this country. Right Honourable Speaker, this National Women's Day celebration in our country needs some deepening and widening and strengthening if possible, because it's not being felt. Tightening, no. It's not being felt nationally, Right Honourable Speaker. I was in the media, and we've been always covering this day live on TV, on radio, because I've been working with UBC, the national broadcaster. The celebration begins with some entertainment, with some few speeches, and the guest of honor speaks, and the day ends. And really, there is nothing much that can, help our rural women to transform. So I was really begging the minister that they should really try to revise the way how we can celebrate this day, to benefit our rural women and our rural people. Because, for instance, these days, some women in our country are becoming a little bit more violent. So if there can be a way of reaching out to them and really, sensitize them, and
does that require Women's Day? You are finished?
No, I was giving you some
information from Mukaza.
The information I'm giving you, Madam Speaker, there is a very big, serious situation. When you move countrywide, people who are eating are so many, and people who are producing food are very little. And they are women. Women only. It is becoming very serious. Actually, to the extent that I would wish the ministry now should look at the theme in terms of this food insecurity that we are having now. Because some political pronouncements have made men go to trading centers. And every man that gets 10,000 starts up a shop. Now, women are left to look after cows, children, dig, produce food at the table, and they cannot produce enough food for the family to eat and maybe have some to conserve for even more 2 months. Now, this is a very serious situation. So the ministry must address this. Otherwise, our women are going to be donkeys. It is terrible. Look after goats, go fetch water, firewood, cook food. It is very, very, very alarming.
You have really smuggled, eh? Now, General, let's hear the General. Your 2 minutes are over. You gave part of it to the honourable member.
Madam Speaker, I just come up to make a comment on one statement, and
also seeking clearance, understanding better. Statement from my sister across, Betty, that women are fed up with the guest of honor in the person of president. Is it, you did? You did. So, is that representative of opposition, women in opposition, or all women? That's something I want to understand, because how do we report it, this type of statement? How, because I'm here as being talked about, I must have a comment on it. So before we break, I want to have to make me understand better. To me, I was thinking perhaps this is a representative, the feeling of women in opposition representative, which is okay, because they are entitled to be fed up with anybody. However, if it is necessary, then you can say this time you don't want the president to come to Dokolo, and then ask the president to send somebody of your choice. Or you can ask the ministry to send somebody of your choice because you are fed up with the president. So I need clearance, Madam, just something clear from her so that I can report properly. Thank you.
You know, the general is required to report to the cabinet, so can you give clarification about who is tired and who is not tired?
Madam Speaker, the Hansard can bear me out on this. I started by saying that we are very grateful that His Excellency, the President, has accepted to officiate at this function. But as a way of advice, I said that in the future, we should consider inviting other people, even internationally, so that we can benefit from their presence. And you know, we always have our president every other day on various functions. And I don't think it would be bad, for example, one day, if we would consider, for example, sending General Ali as our guest of honor, or Mama Janety. And I did say, Madam Speaker, that even you, there are so many girls down there in the village who would like to see the first woman speaker of this country. So even in me, the president can even choose to send Ambosego and preside over that function on my behalf. I will be very grateful and I will take it on with a lot of vigor, Madam Speaker. We are not fed up. We love our president, but when it comes to functions, various people can be resourceful in various ways. We have heard from the president a number of times, and it will be nice to hear from other people. He can even choose this year to send Dr. Kanochiza Besigye, for example, so that women can also benefit from hearing from the leader of the opposition. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Let's close the order of Bamor. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and then Minister, do you have anything? Do you have responses, or you are just listening? Do you have anything to respond? Ati? Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker. I want to start also by thanking the Minister of Gender, actually the ministry in general, and government for picking on Dokolo to be able to host this year's International Women's Day. I think, for the record, this day is not to be celebrated excluding men. So I think for it to have full meaning, I think our men should very much associate with this day and with the women, and it will make the day enjoyable by everybody. And more warm. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, my challenge that I'd wanted to raise, one is that I think the idea behind taking celebrations to different districts is to try to focus and tailor the event to reflect the realities, the struggles, the achievements of women in that particular district, and probably that is shared at a national and international level. And this definitely will not be achieved if we only have a climax of that one day. And that's why a build-up of activities that would attract experts on women empowerment, that would have trainings, that would have field visits to identify and probably even have women that will showcase what they're doing that would make them productive, bring them into the money economy. And that's what we would be celebrating that day and seeing how it must be empowered.
Minister, can you use 2 minutes to respond? Maybe you can also send us written answers about the issues we have raised. Just 2 minutes, Minister.
Right, Honorable Speaker. The theme was adopted from the international theme, and therefore we shall definitely localize it to suit the occasion, but also the population, and that is one of the ways through which we'll be able to sensitize the public about the changing world of work. We know for sure that we have 78% of the total population under the age of 35, and therefore many are placed also in the rural areas. How will they know until we go there? So being in Dokolo was the most prime area. But also regionalizing, I think, was a principle that we take these national celebrations in different regions for purposes of the countryside, getting the feel of the reason as to why we celebrate such national occasions. In Nakasongara, we had the Women's Day celebrations 2012, in Nebith 2013, Kumi was in 2014, Kawari was in 2015, Kololo 2016, because there's a neutral area, and that time we had elections, and now in Dokolo. But also members of Parliament should be aware that we do write to the ministry when we are ready to host. And if it falls in your region, then you'll be good to go. Dokolo expressed preparedness and got the opportunity. The President is the fountain of honor, and we know his contribution towards women emancipation, and therefore inviting him was not a mistake. On auditing, I made a brief statement here on the floor of Parliament, but on the Women's Day celebrations, we shall give a detailed report of how far we have gone in emancipation, and of course, also know the contribution of women in monetary quantifications, and those that are challenges, we need to raise them up, and people should get to know so that these contributions are known. Women are becoming violent. I really don't know that. We need to establish the figures. If you have, kindly let us know. But we know that all people are capable of being violent if they are offended, but we don't have the figures that qualify women to be more violent than men. I don't have that. On funding, I'm sure honorable members are aware that the national celebrations will be facilitated with the national budget as provided for by the ministry, but the districts also receive their funding, and they should appropriate budgets for such functions, women's celebrations inclusive. I think many of the concerns shall be shared there, when you join us, because they constitute the detailed reports of what we have. But on the persons invited, we have invited everybody, and at least we have confirmation from the chairperson of the UPC party, Honorable Kena. We have also invited all the other opposition parties and the NRM, of course. And we also are aware that Honorable Cecilia Ogwang's political affiliation is clearly known to us. So it is not really, the hosting of the occasion is not selectively selected on partisan agenda. I think these were part of the few issues I can share with you now, but we have a one-week activism event, which has started today. You must have seen, for those who are on WhatsApp, that the forces were taking the lead in marching and sensitizing the public on how they are going to address gender-based violence, which has been one of the bottlenecks on women's emancipation. I thank you for the contributions, and I have taken note on some of the issues that were raised that would not have ready answers. Thank you, Honorable Speaker and colleagues.
Okay, thank you very much, Minister and all members. Honourable members had wanted us to go on with the work, but I've remembered that our colleague's husband is being married tomorrow, and the members want to leave this evening. But I wanted to just let you know what I'm planning for tomorrow. We are going to have 2 sets of activities. From 10 to midday, we shall have the body of late Maombe Mukwana here. We shall sit at 12 and finish at 1:45, so that they can leave and we continue with our work. The work I was worried about tomorrow, but if we can do both, we deal with him in the morning, and then from 2:30 we have our normal sitting, so that we can do the work which is on the order paper. Is that okay, honourable members? Then the other thing, honourable members, there is the World Wildlife Day on Friday. There are going to be activities at the Uganda Museum. You are being invited by the ministry and Miss Tourism Uganda. If you do have time, go and support the World Wildlife Day. Yes, Honorable Franca.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just wanted to inform the members who have interest or intention to go for burial tomorrow, because one bus has already left this afternoon. The next one is leaving at 4:30 in the morning. So for those of you who still want to go, we will go with you at 4:30. And members should keep time, because Lamour is very far.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Katutu.
Right Honourable Speaker, scheduled some business tomorrow morning. Is it advisable, therefore, to call off those meetings such that we can proceed?
Honourable members, I think you can continue with your work. We can have a few members doing the tribute. We cannot all just do your work. It's all for the country. Honourable members, I want to thank you very much. House adjourned to tomorrow at midday for the tribute, and then we shall have the other ordinary sitting at 2:30. Thank you very much. But at 10 o'clock, be around for receiving this body.